Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. And we have a great show for you today. And as always, you can catch us on the web at ringsidereporter.com. If you want to call in tonight, you can give us a call right now at 323-870-3857. And we'll be here till about 8:30, somewhere in there tonight. So we'll see how it goes. Today, we're going to talk about David Haye pulling out of another fight. He pulled out again. I think he needs to call it a day, but we'll tell you about it. This is exciting news. Robert, we have such exciting news today. We have a new TBE on the horizon, and we'll let you know who it is. And Beeb's favorite fighter, Manny Pacquiao, calls out Conor McGregor. But first, we get started with HBO, Sergey Kovalev versus Vyacheslav Shabranskyy for the vacant WBO light heavyweight title. Sergey Kovalev regained his WBO light heavyweight title with a second-round stoppage of Shabranskyy in Madison Square Garden. Kovalev started out strong. He knocked Shabranskyy down twice in the first round. Shabranskyy honestly was in trouble all through this fight. He never really got his footing in there against Kovalev. The end came at 2:36 of the second round. It almost looked like Kovalev was playing pinball in there. He would hit him with a right hand. He would exaggerate. I mean, just really exaggerated shots, man. Just boom, and you just saw him. Just see his head going from one side to the other, his body going from one side to the other. It was a dominant performance, and I really thought Shabranskyy had a really good chance at this. I was shocked at how good Kovalev looked in this fight. Beeb, was this a case of Kovalev looking very good, Kovalev being back to form, or was this a case of good matchmaking?
Yeah, this was a case of, I hate to say it, because I don't want to take anything away from Kovalev, but styles make fights. And I think that the style that Andre Ward brings to the table is very problematic to a Sergey Kovalev, because Kovalev definitely needs space. He needs to be able to turn that right hand over. He likes to work off that jab. He likes distance. And, Andre Ward crowded him, and Andre Ward manhandled him like he does a lot of opponents. And Andre Ward's done that against a lot of opponents. He just imposes his will on his opponents, and he really imposed his will on Sergey Kovalev. And you can tell when Sergey Kovalev talks about Andre Ward, how he really realizes, he tries to hide it a little bit, but he realizes how tough of a fighter, not just how good of a fighter Andre Ward is, how tough of a fighter Andre Ward is, because we talked about this earlier off air, and this just really adds a lot of credence to Andre Ward, how great of a fighter he is. When you see what he did to Sergey Kovalev, and then you turn around and look at what Sergey Kovalev is able to do to a guy like Shabranskyy. Shabranskyy is not a world beater, but he's definitely a reputable, solid type fighter. Definitely maybe a top 12, top bottom level, top 10, top 12, 13, at least a top 14 or 15 fighter at light heavyweight. He's definitely a contender, and he was ranked pretty highly in the sanctioning bodies before losing to Sullivan Barrera. I don't want to take anything away from Sergey Kovalev, but a lot of people are saying, and Sergey Kovalev is saying this himself, that he's back. Well, we're never really gonna know, if he's back until he gets in there with someone who can push him to that limit, take him to that place where he doesn't want to go, like Andre Ward did. Force him to have to fight back from adversity, because that really determines how great a fighter really is. That is what kind of etches a fighter in history, really illuminates his legacy when he's put in situations where he has to come back from adversity, how he reacts to those things. because let's talk about Andre Ward again. I know this isn't Andre Ward's night. This isn't an Andre Ward recap show. I know that. But you can't really talk about Sergey Kovalev without talking about Andre Ward. These guys are going to be forever intertwined because of the two controversial fights that they've had, and you know how well Andre Ward was able to do. And we keep seeing Sergey Kovalev put in performances like this. As I said earlier, it's going to continue to elevate Andre Ward. But let's look at Andre Ward. Let's look at that fight way early in his career against Donnell Boone when he was knocked down, but he was really hurt. He looked like he was going to get stopped in that fight. Like, if you go back and watch that, he was out on his feet. And for him to be able to regain his composure and go on to win the remainder of that fight and come back and win that fight big and actually hurt Donnell Boone in that fight, that speaks volumes about him. And then you can, you know, look at that Edison Miranda fight where he was in there with a real rough and tumble type guy, a real strong guy in Edison Miranda. That was like one of his first step-up fights, huge puncher. And Andre Ward went in there and took it to him and bodied the bully, as we've seen so many times. Bodied the bully, the bigger guy, the supposedly stronger guy. And then even in the Sergey Kovalev fight, first 6 rounds of the fight, I had him down 4 rounds to 2. Plus, he was knocked down in the second round. I'm not going to sit there and say he was extremely excessively hurt, but he was definitely buzzed. You know, he was definitely buzzed, and Sergey Kovalev got his attention. So he was in a hole, okay? And to have to come back out of a hole like that and be able to put on that performance that he put on the second half of that fight, this guy has fortitude. So until I see Sergey Kovalev do these same things, and that's not to take away from his ability, but again, you know, we talk about greatness. And greatness it encompasses a lot of things. It's not just what you have physically, but it's what you have mentally. Because I'll tell you this, a poor character can really undermine all the skill in the world, all the talent, all the ability in the world. Well, look at all, I don't want to really go off topic here, but look at all of these great people in entertainment right now, in politics right now. These guys are really well-accomplished individuals in their respective careers. But because their characters are flawed and they've made really bad decisions, it's going to overshadow the greatness that they have mentally and what they've accomplished, you know, from a occupational standpoint and from a career standpoint. And you can say what you want, but these 2 fights that Sergey Kovalev had with Andre Ward, I think they're going to be forever etched in the back of his mind until he's put in that situation again. Obviously, he can't be put there by Andre Ward anymore because Andre Ward is retired. But if another fighter can put him in that place and he can come back from that place, that dark place, you know, that no one really likes to be in, and people try to fight their way out of it, or they succumb to it and they wilt under it. If he can overcome that by being put in that situation, then I can truly say that, yeah, Sergey Kovalev is back. But, you know, I will say this. If you look at the landscape of this division, I don't think anyone can really bring that type of dogged determination, that grittiness, along with the physical attributes, along with the high boxing IQ, along with the extensive skill set that Andre Ward brings to the table. That's a big package right there. And I don't think there's anyone close in this division that can bring that to Sergey Kovalev. I think Sullivan Barrera, mentally, he's a strong guy too. He's a guy that really fights at a fast pace. He's an aggressive guy. And we've seen him get knocked down in fights. We've seen him and Andre Ward get into a pretty tough fight. Andre Ward won the fight very handily, but Andre Ward was tagging him at will and rocking him backward. And you could see his head get knocked from pillar to post in that fight. He was getting hit so cleanly. But amidst it all, he still came forward. He was still trying to win. If ever a fighter had an excuse to go into a survival mode, defensive shell, that was the perfect situation to do so. And Sullivan Barrera did not do that. So obviously he doesn't have that skill set. He's probably not as good as an inside fighter as Andre Ward. But in terms of just the determination factor, I think he has a little bit of that. but he just doesn't have doesn't have to the level that Andre Ward has it, and obviously doesn't have the skill set. So I think on paper, people are saying Bivol's the guy, but he's more of a laid-back, methodical, slower-paced type guy. He can definitely punch, takes his time, but Kovalev likes that. He likes guys who leave him alone a little bit. He doesn't like guys that push him because he tends to fade late. He doesn't want to fight a fast-paced fight. He wants to be able to have the fight being fought at his pace. So obviously, I think that you would have to favor Kovalev against Barrera, but I think style-wise, that may be the toughest fight for him, the more physically taxing fight for him, because Barrera is such a big, strong guy. He's such an aggressive guy. He comes forward, and he likes to push that pace on you. I think style-wise, that's the toughest fight for Kovalev. I know people want that Bivol fight. They want that Better Beeb fight. But those guys, both of them, they take their time in there, very methodical. And I think that kind of more fits into Kovalev's type of style, comfort zone, as opposed to a guy like Barrera who can just push the pace on him. I don't think he's going to like that. So the division is still interesting. Got a lot of young guys still in there that are up and coming that can make some interesting fights. But we have to say, I think that Kovalev is probably the man right now, based upon what he's able to do and how good of a puncher he is. And he's still a very highly skilled fighter too. But we still have to see him face adversity and overcome it. And until then, I'm not ready to put the stamp of approval on him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't even know that Kovalev is the man in this division, to be honest with you. I like Sullivan Barrera an awful lot. I thought he did a good job in this fight, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But with Bivol, with Adonis Stevenson, you have all these guys out there, and the one thing about Kovalev that you mentioned is that does he come back from adversity? Is he able to, once he faces that adversity, can he come back from it? We know Sullivan Barrera can. We saw Andre Ward numerous times in his career do that. I've never seen Kovalev be in an adverse situation and come out on top. Never. Not once has he been in trouble, had to bite down and come back. And that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal. So, I mean, can he do that? I don't know. I mean, I could argue that he did that in this fight with Shabranskyy. I could argue that he did bite down on it. And, he was set with adversity after 2 losses. His back's up against the wall, and he's got to come out swinging against his guy, Shabranskyy. Were you disappointed in Shabransky's performance? Did you expect more from Shabranskyy, or did this fight go kind of how you thought it would?
No, I expected more from Shabranskyy. I thought he was probably going to get stopped maybe in 8 or 9 rounds. I didn't expect him to go in 2. So I have to be very honest about that. And I will also, full disclosure, I'm not going to mention people's names, but a lot of people were texting me. And Shabranskyy was a plus 825 in this fight. He was a more than 8-1 underdog in this fight. And I honestly, on paper, if I was to make a line for this fight, I probably would have made him a plus 350, 360 maybe. And people were asking me, is it worth the play? I said, yeah. Because I didn't know. I mean, I don't know how Kovalev was going to come back. I didn't know, if there's going to be a residual effect from what Andre Ward did. I didn't know that. Obviously, I was going to favor him. But I just I thought that the odds were a little bit off, in my opinion. But obviously they weren't, because odds makers do know something that we don't. But I'm also going to say something else, and I think Max Kellerman alluded to this too, because he said Shabranskyy just went in there and he kind of didn't really respect Kovalev's power. He just went right at him, and I'm not going to say he was reckless,
right? But
he was possibly a little bit overly aggressive early. Shabransky's a guy not really great at. He's very good offensively, but defensively, he's not great at slipping punches. Doesn't really move his head very well. Once he gets in that pocket area, he's kind of stationary, and he'll get in that pocket, throw combinations, and he doesn't get out. He doesn't get out of harm's way. He just plays with fire in that mid-range pocket area, and that's not where you want to be against a guy like Kovalev. You don't want to give that guy be able to open up shot and start firing on you. So with that being said, I think a lot of fighters looked at that Andre Ward fight and mentally probably said to themselves, you know what? Andre Ward broke this guy. This guy's weak to the body. Maybe I can break this guy too. Maybe I can get inside this guy's chest and I can start ripping this guy to the body. Maybe he'll break against me too. But people don't realize one thing about Andre Ward. And I know there's a lot of Andre Ward detractors out there. They're going to call him dirty. They're going to say that his style is horrible. But Andre Ward is a very, very brave fighter because he goes in the kitchen where it's really hot in there. And he goes in that kitchen and he stays in that kitchen and he's able to deal with that heat where other people are looking for the window to open to let some of that smoke out. Andre Ward stays in that pocket and he grinds you down. And a lot of people, when they stay in that pocket, they either look to hold or they look to, they get hit. They just freeze up in there. They don't know how to survive up close. When Andre Ward is up close in a guy's chest, he knows how to fight inside. He's an outstanding inside fighter. He makes himself a compact target. He positions himself where his head and shoulders are off center a lot of times. He's able to dig shots and land really short shots up close and not get hit. And a lot of guys can, and he said this, and I'm going to quote him. He said a lot of guys can fight inside offensively. They're successful offensively, but a lot of guys can't defend inside. And that's the big thing. Andre Ward knows how to defend on the inside. He knows how to tuck his chin. He knows how to get low. He knows how to position his body. He has really great control of his body, and he's able to transition fast. Like Virgil Hunter said, he processes things fast. So he's able to transition. He's able to make that defensive move and then transition almost instantaneously, extemporaneously into an offensive position. And a lot of guys just can't deal with that. And that's what makes him so great, in my opinion. I know a lot of people aren't going to look at those things. They're going to see how physically he gets, how they say he's dirty in there. And they say he holds a lot. But there's two types of holding. We've seen guys who hold in desperation. Guys like Amir Khan, with all due respect, I'm not, dissing Amir Khan, but watch Amir Khan on the inside. He grabs and his eyes like open up like saucers. Like he that's a desperation hold. And you have a guy like Andre Ward who grabs you. He's basically grabbing you and saying, I got you. I'm going to put you where I want to put you. I'm going to walk you back. I'm going to maneuver you. I'm going to turn you. I'm going to release, and I'm going to punch off the clinch. It's part of his offense. It's not just a desperation, survival hold type clinch, defensive clinch. This is part of the plan. I'm going to grab you, and I'm going to walk you back. I'm going to position you. I'm going to maneuver you where I want to maneuver you, and I'm going to nullify you. And before you know it, I'm going to release that clinch, and you're going to get hit with something because I'm going to put you in a position where I can line you up and I can tag you. A lot of guys don't do that when they hold. They're looking to just freeze it. Come on, ref, break us. Let me get a breather. Let me reset. That's not what Andre Ward's doing. Andre Ward was manhandling these guys. He was bullying these guys. And these guys are, Edison Miranda, Carl Froch, Arthur Abraham. These guys are bullies. These guys are guys, that big arrogant guys that they're the ones that are usually talking that talk. They're the ones imposing their will on people. And Andre Ward is bullying bullies. He's going to that schoolyard and he's saying, who's the toughest kid in this schoolyard? Guess what? I'm here to take your spot. And he's done that throughout his whole career. And people don't want to give him credit for that. People don't like him. People are going to shit on him. And that's fine. I respect Andre Ward a lot. Andre Ward is my favorite fighter right now. Was my favorite fighter in the sport of boxing, not just because of his skill, but he's one of the most mentally strong athletes I've ever seen outside of Jordan. And that's a strong statement. But I've never seen an athlete who wants to win so badly outside of Jordan than Andre Ward. This guy is a fierce competitor, nicest guy in the world outside of boxing, outside of the ring. But when you put him in that ring, he's gonna walk through fire to get that victory, and he's shown that. And Sergey Kovalev has not shown that, and that's with all due respect to him, because a lot of guys don't show that. It's not a normal thing to do. It's like people have breaking points, And once they're at that breaking point, once they reach that threshold, then it's human nature to shut down. But I have not seen Andre Ward's breaking point or threshold yet. We haven't seen that yet. And that just speaks volumes about how great Andre Ward is. And that's just my opinion. I don't care what anyone says. That's how I feel about the guy.
Mario G in the chat is going nuts. He's not a big Ward fan.
He's not. But you know what? All these guys. Go ahead.
No, I was saying you're right. I mean, he's the best one out there. You take Kovalev and you take Barrera, the two of the top light heavyweights there are, and Ward just dismantled them. It just lets you know what level he was on, what level everybody else was playing on. That's all. Robert, let me ask you a question here. You saw the fight last night, Kovalev and Shabranskyy. What were your thoughts on Kovalev? And what I want to get your thought in specifically is, what was your thought of Kovalev and his new trainer? Minus John David Jackson. Better, worse, still undecided?
I would say, since the fight was so short, Eric, everything is still undecided as far as Sergey Kovalev is concerned. I could not break that fight down any better than Beeb just did. I'm very disappointed in Shabranskyy. I thought he would be extremely competitive. I thought this would go several rounds. I thought Kovalev would eventually pull it out, but I viewed Shabranskyy as a better, as a good opponent to show, how far Kovalev had returned. And ironically enough, in the Barrera fight, which we'll talk about in a minute, they kept talking about how Barrera was offered that fight and he turned it down because he didn't like the money. And then after he turned it down, the WBO decided to make it a title fight. They said during the fight, he said, if Barrera knew that they were going to have it was going to be for a title, he would have accepted it no matter what the money was. I think that is the next logical fight for Kovalev to have, is a fight against Barrera, because Barrera survived Andre Ward and has had a successful career. And maybe Barrera would be the only light heavyweight around that could actually pull out a lot of the things that Ward did to actually see where Sergey Kovalev actually is. With 2 rounds or less than 2 rounds, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, to be honest with you.
I liked the way he looked, and I think Shabranskyy, I think we give him a lot of heat for this fight, and obviously when you get taken out like that in 2 rounds. But I think this was a case of he just got clipped early. I mean, I think he was going to get clipped regardless, but I think he just got clipped early and just could never recover, man, because Kovalev does hit hard. It's not like he's got like cupcakes, man. He hits like a truck.
Absolutely. He's got hammers in his
for sure.
gloves.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about the next fight on the card, Sullivan Barrera versus Felix Valera. Sullivan Barrera scored a unanimous decision over Felix Valera by the scores of 98-88. Go figure that one out. 97-90 and 97-89. The fight was a foul fest, man, throughout. Both fighters being deducted for low blows. Barrera was floored in the first round, and he looked hurt. But he came back to score a fringe knockdown at the end of the round. Man, listen, I saw it. I understand it. I understand why they called it a knockdown. They probably shouldn't have been called a knockdown. It looked like he tripped. But, hey, the ref said it, so that's what you got to go with. Overall, I like the way Barrera looked. They kept showing Dmitry Bivol throughout the fight. I think Barrera, honestly, in my opinion, is as good as any light heavyweight in the world, not named Andre Ward. I think he can beat Dmitry. I think he can beat Kovalev on any given night. Now, is he favored in those fights, man? I don't know. But I know he's got the skills, and clearly he can face adversity and get back up. That's for sure. I mean, he was knocked down by Joe Smith in the first or second round, wasn't he?
First round.
In the first round, and then he broke Smith's jaw
first round.
That.
And somebody in the chat just almost like compared him to Trinidad. Like when he gets knocked down, that's when he gets back up and he bites and he goes. And I thought that was a great comparison, and he's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Robert, what were your thoughts on Sullivan Barrera here?
Well, I totally agree with you, Eric. It was a good fight. It was a foul fest. The referee did what he had to do. I don't agree that There were 2 knockdowns in the first round, but hey, it's boxing, and the right guy won. And yeah, that's right. Barrera is now the mandatory for Beeb, and the only thing we ever know about Beeb is every time he fights, he's knocked everybody out except for Valera. Valera is the only one that I know of that went the distance with him. So what does that say about Felix Valera? But yeah, he'll be the mandatory for Beeb, and it'll be interesting to see if he can take Beeb some rounds, because Beeb's the kind of guy that doesn't have a lot of rounds. He gets people out of there early, pretty much. So if he can take him the distance, it might be an interesting collision. And like I said, I think that he would be a good matchup for Kovalev as well.
Yeah.
But good for Barrera. He won the fight that he needed to win. So there you go.
This is why I love having the chat enabled while we do the show. Reese Mack just brought up a really good point too. I talked about Adonis Stevenson, the other one in the light heavyweight category that absolutely nobody talks about. But what about Badu Jack also? I forgot he was up to light. That's another guy who, in my opinion, can beat anybody on any given night. And now whether he's up to the skill level as far as, I mean, clearly his skill level, you know, is right there. But, you know, weight-wise, I mean, Barrera's going to be the bigger guy. Kovalev's going to be the bigger guy. But skill level, I mean, I put Badu Jack's skill level up there with any of them.
Yes.
Manny Castillo in the chat. That's right. Michigan didn't have a chance yesterday. Titletown wins again. He's always coming on. Ohio State, big winners this weekend. Cincinnati, big winners today. Hey, it's Titletown, son. Just get used to it. All right, Beeb, what were your thoughts on Sullivan Barrera?
You know, he got dropped, and he once again comes back, and as I said, maintained his composure and fought harder. He fought harder. He was in there with a guy who was very awkward. Did the best he could, but he just didn't have, you know, the amount of tools in the toolbox that Barrera had. And Barrera was really able to dictate the pace of this fight. He was able to be the ring general in there, showed real great ring generalship. And when his opponent tried to move in on him, I think that, you know, Barrera's timing was really, really good in this fight. You know, and it's going to be interesting seeing Barrera against some of these other guys, because I don't think he gets enough credit for his boxing ability. This guy has really good ring instincts. On a puncher, and you know, he knows how to punch inside of his opponent's combinations. If you see him, how he just throws that right hand in there. The one problem, like as I said earlier about him, is when he gets up close, he's in that mid-range area, he tends to lean in a little bit, and he's susceptible to left hooks. I don't see him getting hit with a lot of right hands. The punches that I see him getting dropped with, Joe Smith knocked him down with a left hook. I believe Shabranskyy knocked him down with a left hook. And in this fight, he got knocked down with a left hook. And Bivol, Kovalev, they're big right-hand punchers. So I think, you know, he can deal with the right hand. He sees the right hand coming. But for whatever reason, when he gets up close, he's in that mid-range area, tends to lean forward a lot. And he gets countered when he throws that right hand, because he kind of overshoots that right hand when he's up close. When he's outside, he throws it like a dart, and, you know, he really sets it up. Find that long jab, and this guy has an extensive amateur career, so he knows how to box. But you know, I think he did what he had to do. He was in there with a very awkward guy, a guy who was holding him, a guy who was making the fight a little bit sloppy, and he remained composed, and he just kept boxing, and he actually boxed very well last night, and I practically won every single round. I think I have him losing. I think I had one round. I had the first round even, and I believe on my scorecard I had him winning the rest of the fight. So I think he did what he had to do. He had a gigantic lead on the scorecards. I think I had him winning this fight by like 10 points with all the point deductions. So it looked kind of like a football score. But yeah, this was a fight where it's kind of like didn't really make him look better, but it didn't make him look worse either. I think that this was more or less kind of a stalemate type performance for him in terms of there's just this isn't going to make anyone say, hey, Barrera's this beast, this monster. With a guy that he could really showcase those types of things against. So I have a feeling he's going to get that big fight next. Could be Kovalev or Bivol. I have a feeling that he may be the next guy for Kovalev, and I'm really excited about it.
Well, afterwards at the press conference, Kovalev
his name came up a lot. Yeah,
Kovalev did say his name. He did say he talked about Barrera fighting Barrera, and and the reason obviously for that is that he just fought on that undercard. But yeah, I don't hate that fight. That's a good fight, and I know the odds are going to favor Kovalev in that fight, and I know the odds makers, and I think that's probably the right way to go. But wow, man, I tell you what, I give Sullivan Barrera a real shot in that fight. I mean,
yes, I do.
You got his chin because he can be hit and he can be knocked down.
He's a durable guy,
but
he's a strong guy too.
He's such a good boxer. He's got good fundamentals. He does good work in there. He's a good, solid fighter. And I give him on any given day, man, I give him the nod over anyone. I really do. I think he's got the talent, man. He's the goods. Let's talk about Jason Sosa versus Yuriorkis Gamboa. Gamboa finds his 9th live in New York with a controversial majority decision win over Jason Sosa. Scores were 94-94. The other two judges scored the fight for Gamboa 95-93 and 96-92. Whether you scored the fight for Gamboa or not, let me ask you this. Do you think there's a real reason for him to go forward? Do you think he gets a big fight? Do you think he can be competitive in a big fight?
No.
I think, it's funny because when he's looking good in there, he looks so good in spots. Like those first 5 rounds, that looked like vintage, old school Gamboa in his prime. But I think the inactivity definitely has played a part, in some of these shortcomings that he's had in fights, number one. And number two, he's got a lot of miles on him now. You know what I mean? And I think he's reached that ceiling where I don't think he can get much more out of his body than he's getting right now. He tends to just fade. He's not as durable as he once was. I know Max Kellerman said, hey, looking at him take these punches that you would call a shot. And I wouldn't call him a shot fighter.
No.
But he definitely looks like he's lost a step and he looks ring worn. And when he's getting hit with these shots, he's not recovering the same way he used to when he was younger. And he's fading late in fights. I'm seeing a pattern of him really slowing down. I gave him the first 5 rounds in this fight. I don't agree with Harold Letterman. He gave Sosa 2 of those first 5 rounds. I thought it was a shutout the first 5 rounds. I mean, arguably you could have maybe given Sosa 2 of those first 5 rounds, but they were close. But I still thought that Gamboa was, doing more. He was busier. He was landing better combinations. You could tell the speed advantage. The hand speed advantage was definitely evident in those first 5 rounds. He was definitely boxing well from the outside. He was moving. He was controlling the fight. The fight was being fought on his terms. Sosa would land a big shot here and there, but he wasn't really able to put shots together. He wasn't able to really sustain a consistent attack against Gamboa. Next round, I saw Gamboa just start to slow down. And is that because of what Sosa did? Forward, but he really wasn't landing shots. So was Sosa's pace troubling Gamboa? Was because Sosa's pace and his forward pressure, was that forcing Gamboa to move more than he really wanted to? No, because Gamboa's always been a mover. He's always been a guy who's used his legs in fights. He's not a guy that will sit in the pocket and use a lot of head and shoulder upper body movement. He doesn't use a lot of subtle moves. This is a guy that likes to use his legs. He likes to move. And he likes to fight on the outside. He likes to use that outer perimeter of the ring. That's what he likes to do. But the big question is, physically, his body still allow him to do that. We know the mind is still there. But the thing is the mind-body connection still there? Is the body doing what the brain is telling it to do right now? Or is it just not responding? And I just think that fighters have different biological clocks, and he's about 35 years old. And we've seen other fighters, 35, 36, 37, Floyd Mayweather, Triple G, Bernard Hopkins, Klitschko, the list goes on and on. They're able to transcend their style into the later years. But guys like Roy Jones, Gamboa, guys who and even Wanma, guys who just don't have a lot of those little tricks up their sleeve, guys who get by on a lot of the athletic ability, guys who use a lot of legs, because the legs are the first thing to go. He has that style that is not really beneficial to an older fighter, to make a long story short. And that's where I think the problem lies. So, he faded late in this fight, faded against Castellanos. So he can't reinvent himself at 35 years old. He doesn't have a plan B. He doesn't have a type of style where he could, like Andre Ward, going back to Andre Ward again. I know people are going to say this is the Andre Ward show. But we saw early in his career, in the Super 6, when he fought Kessler, how he was moving a lot, using a lot of legs. But, when he came back, less and started fighting inside. Hopkins is another guy who would fight a slower pace, but he was very crafty, very cagey, and he fought very well on the inside. Klitschko started slowing the pace down in his fights, spots a little bit. He was a lot more methodical with his offense. But I don't think a guy like Gamboa can do those things. I don't think he can make those adjustments. I don't think he can fight without. I don't think his style will allow him to succeed because it's based on his legs. A guy like Amir Khan, another guy, his style is based on his legs. Some guys just use their legs a lot. Used his legs a lot. Those types of styles, they don't bode well later in their careers, and that's why I think Gamboa is going to have problems moving forward.
I would agree with that. Robert, what were your thoughts on Gamboa Sosa?
I really feel bad for Jason Sosa. I thought he did good enough and was competitive, but overall, I thought Gamboa did win the fight. But I'm serious. I don't think he's going to be competitive going forward. I don't see anybody in the 135-pound division that he would be competitive against. So that's why last week I said I really didn't understand the purpose of him fighting again. I really don't see a future for Gamboa. I think he had his day, and I think it's pretty much at the end of the road. Sorry to say that for a guy who won, but I don't see a future for him. Maybe I'm wrong.
I got to agree with you. I mean, I don't think he beats anybody, any name opponents anymore. I don't think he's going to win any titles anytime anymore. If and like Beeb said, he's not a shot fighter. He could still fight. I mean, that was proof, on Saturday. Whether you think he won or he lost, he could still fight. He could still put it together, and he could still fight. But, what's the point of going forward on this? You know what I mean? If you can't win titles, you're not going to be competitive in the sense that, I mean, I think he's still competitive, but you're kind of relegated to gatekeeper. You're not going to win any titles anymore. So what are you still doing here? You know what I mean?
Well,
what's your goal here?
Let me ask Robbie a quick question, because he had Gamboa winning this fight. I had this fight a draw, and I thought I gave Gamboa every benefit of the doubt because you had the knockdown and you had the point taken away from Gamboa. So that's a 2-point swing right there. Did you actually score it, Robbie, or did you just kind of look at it and say, I think Gamboa won? Because I'm just curious.
No, I didn't actually score this one because I honestly didn't expect a whole lot.
Yeah,
but
yeah, and I get that. I get that.
I agree with you. I thought the first 5 rounds, Gamboa was more competitive, and if I was scoring it, I would have gave all those rounds to him. Sosa didn't do anything. It didn't start doing anything until round 6.
Yeah,
but he kind of took things over in the second half of the fight. But overall, I think the judges got it right. I think the right guy won, but I just feel bad for a guy like Sosa because every time he fights, he's in a competitive fight unless he's fighting Lomachenko, and he always comes up short. But, you know, it was a decent fight. I didn't expect much out of it. It turned out to be better than I thought it would be. Because I was joking last week and I said, well, that's the turkey fight because everybody'd be sleeping depending on how late it started, you know?
Because I'm going to say this, because I didn't score the fight last night, but I went back and watched it again today, and I was scoring it. And one thing really stood out to me, and I talked to Eric about this earlier, Don Trella's scorecard. I think he had it 96-92. And that's with the 2 points deducted, mind you. So he only gave Jason Sosa 2 rounds in this fight. And when I was watching it yesterday, I kind of got the sense that it was a close fight. I felt as though maybe it could have gone either way. But then when I actually watched it again today and I actually scored it, and I really scored it, watched it intently with the intent of scoring it to the best of my ability. And I gave Jason Sosa 4 rounds. And obviously the 2 points swing with the knockdown and the point deduction, I had it a draw. But I really looked at this fight and I said to myself, I think I have a hard time scoring this fight for Gamboa because I think at the very least you had to give Sosa 4 of those rounds, at least 4 of those rounds. And Harold Letterman gave him more than 4 rounds. I think he gave him like 6 rounds. But I think if you give Gamboa every benefit of the doubt, I think the best you come up with is a draw. But Don Trella only gave Jason Sosa 2 rounds in this fight. And this fight was not an 8 rounds to 2 type fight. It just wasn't. And this was another guy who had that controversial scorecard in the Triple G Canelo fight. Had the 7th round. He gave it to Canelo, where everyone on the planet gave it to Golovkin. And if he scored that fight correctly, Golovkin would have won that fight. So, again, with the judging, I don't want to be the guy to criticize scoring all the time because my scorecards sometimes contradict, the popular opinion out there. I've had scorecards, but a situation like this where some things are just so out of left field, like that 7th round, and also only giving Jason Sosa 2 rounds in this fight last night in a fight that was definitely at the very least a 6-4 type fight. It's just crazy. When I saw that scorecard, I was like, what the hell is this? How does that happen? Even with the 2 point deduction, how is that fight, 8-2 in rounds? I just couldn't fathom that. So I don't know what anyone else thought about that, but I just thought it was a horrible scorecard, and I'm seeing a pattern with this Don Trella guy. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, another doozy for the scores, man. Let's talk about the PBC on Fox Sports. Devon Alexander, I believe this took place on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Devon Alexander versus Walter Castillo. We'll kind of gloss this one. I just want your opinion here. Devon Alexander won a one-sided unanimous decision over Walter Castillo. Scores were 100-89, 100-89, and 96-93. Yeah, okay. What were your thoughts on Devon Alexander? And he's been out of the ring for a couple of years. I know he had some
2 years. 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, he had some personal issues outside of the ring and everything like that. We won't get into, but it was a great comeback for him, a great night for him. Going forward, again, and we talk about the Gamboa effect. I mean, going forward, even when he was in his prime, I mean, he's clearly a championship fighter, as was Gamboa.
Yeah.
Going forward, is this kind of the Gamboa effect? I mean, when he goes forward, is there a reason for him to go forward? Do you see him winning any titles along the way, being a gatekeeper of sorts, or what do you see for him in the future?
Could he beat a guy like Jeff Horn? Absolutely. So could he be a title holder?
You think so?
Yeah, I think he could beat a guy like Jeff Horn.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that he definitively would win.
Sure.
But he has a shot. He's faster. He's more athletic. He can fight. He can fight better on the outside. The one problem I've always had with him, Devon Alexander, is a lot of times he pushes punches. He would be hesitant a little bit. When you see a guy pushes punches, sometimes he's not confident that he could land that punch, and he's second guessing whether or not he should be throwing that punch. I seen him do that in the Katalnik fight. Seen him do it a little bit in the Bradley fight. But in this fight, I'm going to put this into perspective. Obviously, he was in there with the right type of opponent, but it's easy to pick up bad habits. So if you've done that in other fights, mentally, you may have that in the back of your mind that you're just going to keep doing that. And I will say this: he looked very confident in this fight. He was actually snapping his punches. He was trying to punch through his target in this fight. He looked really sharp, throwing his combinations. He didn't really get hit with anything. His left hand looked like a dart. He looked good. He looked like a guy who felt comfortable, who obviously looked like a guy who was confident in himself. Whereas in other instances, even against guys, the Aaron Martinez fight, he was heavily favored in that fight, and that was a similar type situation as he was in this fight. And he was second guessing himself. He was pushing his punches. He wasn't letting his hands go. So one good thing I could say about the Devon Alexander I saw this past Tuesday was he was letting his hands go. He was turning his punches over. He wasn't pushing his punches, and he looked sharp. Mm-hmm. Now, can he look like that against someone else? It remains to be seen. But at the very least, this is a positive look for him. It's a positive step. But there's still a lot more steps in the staircase that he has to climb. And until he does that, I'm not gonna jump for joy and say, "Hey, Devon Alexander's back. He just breathed life into this welterweight division." No, this welterweight division is red hot right now, and this could be a Keith Thurman opponent. I would not be surprised if this is a Keith Thurman comeback opponent, maybe in March or April.
I would not be surprised if this was a Keith Thurman opponent either. Keith Thurman doesn't want the, and I'm not saying that Alexander doesn't provide the best competition, but
better not duck me, son. Better not duck me, son.
Not the best guy out there by far.
Eric, Keith Thurman was at that fight.
Yeah, that would not surprise me. That would not surprise me. All right, let's go to the phones here. Area code 773. 773, you're live.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Dale.
How you guys been?
Dale, what's up?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
how about you?
I hope it was a good one for you, man.
It was. It's real good.
Good deal.
Yeah, indeed. As it turns out, also, in case you guys wondered, the Eagles are really good and the Bears are really bad. So
yes,
31-3.
both
God,
counts.
so
Right.
That's a news flash to anybody.
That team is good. They're almost as good as the Bengals.
Anyway.
They might give the Bengals a run for their money. Doubt it, but it's,
Exactly. Congrats on the Bengals. No, anyway, been a few weeks. I've been listening every week. Some good shows. And on this, we'll talk about the Kovalev one first. That's the main one. And looking at it, it was good to see. Looks like the Crusher's back, but like you said, it's a little early to say for sure. But I feel like looks like he's making steps in the right direction. The Uzbeki, Russian-speaking trainer, seems, again, it's too early to tell, but seems like it's maybe a better fit for him. And, whatever. I'm looking at you guys too. I thought Shabranskyy, didn't think I picked, Kovalev too, but thought it would be later. But again, coming off Ward 2, I wouldn't have been surprised if Kovalev got stopped in the second round. I just was really wondering what we were going to see.
Yeah.
And so I was at least pleasantly surprised to see him, kind of at least back on the right track. Now we'll see where it goes from here. But and like you guys were saying, the power doesn't really go anywhere, even if he's partying and drinking vodka or whatever. The mental stuff, that's a different story. And I can't really, fault Shabranskyy too much. I mean, is what it is. You get caught with he was coming in and I think you guys are saying maybe not respecting Kovalev's power enough, and you get caught with you get caught flush by Kovalev a couple of times. It's, it's not going to end well for most people. So, and to go back to the Andre Ward hour, Something
Beeb's favorite fighter.
He's awesome. No, that's what I'm saying.
He's awesome, man.
It goes to show you, like, you look at Barrera, you look at Kovalev, and Barrera, he handled himself well, but that was not even, it was not like a close fight. It was ward all day. And then look what he did to Kovalev. He broke him down. I mean, he broke his spirit. He broke him. He made him, he broke his ass down. I don't care if they're low bros or not.
Well, Dale, that's why there's so many questions about Kovalev. Andre Ward basically destroyed him in 2 fights, and now the boxing world has major questions. But Saturday night did not answer all of them. Yes, he looked good. Yes, he looked good, but we only had 2 rounds. We need to see him in a competitive fight just to see how far back he actually is.
Well, in all fairness, if I can jump in here, in all fairness, that was a competitive fight. I mean, it really was. I mean, Shabranskyy, before that bell rang, everybody thought that was going to be a competitive fight, and everybody wanted to see how Kovalev reacted to the 2 losses. Whether you want to call that first fight a loss or not, he had 2 losses. How was he going to react on the comeback? And I think he may not have answered every question we have, but he answered quite a bit of them, I think. I mean, to me, he did anyway. I mean, to me, he looked like the Kovalev of old, going out there and just demolish that guy. A pretty good fighter. I mean, Shabransky's a pretty good fighter, and everybody, like I said, hits very hard and everything like that. I mean, so I don't know, man. I think that he answered quite a bit.
Okay, for me, it was a step back in the right direction. And,
for sure.
Hopefully, he can get back to what he was doing. But we shall see. And a lot of interesting matchups there at 175. A lot of these guys have fought each other already, as you guys went through. So, I guess the question is who's next. But man, I like Barrera a lot. And for people who want to practice how to their fight card scoring, that Valera fight. I mean, I was like, oh my god, there's a point taken away every round. There's offsetting knockdowns. It's like, so if you want to practice scoring, go back and do that one.
That was a wild one, wasn't it? I mean, there's just that first round alone, and then you got all the point deductions. And if this guy was winning the round, when the point deduction happened, I mean, it was nuts, man.
Got to be a math teacher just to score that fight.
Yeah, right? Like that dude on A Beautiful Mind to score in that fight, you know what I mean? That one math guy.
Yeah.
It was.
Exactly. Very good. Well, anyway, I missed Sosa and Gamboa, so you guys covered that pretty well.
You didn't miss much, that wasn't.
But other than that, I guess that's about it. Just wanted to check in. Thanks again for doing this on a holiday weekend. And happy Thanksgiving to all, and looking forward to the next one. So
absolutely, man. Thank you so much for calling in, and we hope you had a good holiday as well. Let's go back to the phones here. 937, you're live.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Hey, Wood, what's up?
What's the word?
Not much, man. It sounds like I missed a great breakdown from Beeb on the Kovalev fight, so I have to go back and check that out. I have to check that out in the morning.
Okay, thanks.
He didn't look that bad to me, but it's not like Shabranskyy took a look at the Andre Ward fight whatsoever and tried to implement any, of the extra stuff that Ward was successful at doing. And then before you guys just put me on, I really don't think, with the exception of maybe Barrera, maybe Vazdik, depending on which Vazdik shows up. I'm not sure it's a lot of light heavyweights that could kind of duplicate the stuff that Ward did to make Kovalev uncomfortable. But if you're gonna stand out at the end of his power and let him do what he wants to do, then I guess he has a couple of good fights in front of him.
I forgot to mention Vazdik too, because that's a tough guy.
I'm telling you, that division is loaded. You
That's a
know,
good- that's a good
we
guy.
talked about, like I said, Badu Jack. You still got Adonis Stevenson that nobody's talking about in there, cause partially because he doesn't fight anybody. But
And you got Arthur Beterbiev.
yeah, Beterbiev is in there. I mean, it's stacked. I mean, it's a stacked division.
But no one brings that grittiness that Andre Ward can bring to the table.
No,
That's the one thing.
no, he was just
For all
heads and
three of you
tails.
guys, what's your thoughts on what's going on with Brown? I mean, he was a guy who was very hungry, and I thought he was a little disappointed that he ended up with the fight against Monahan a couple months ago. But for him to turn down, some different fights lately and miss this opportunity is kind of interesting.
I don't understand him. Yeah, I don't get him either. And we talk about the PBC guys being inactive, and he's another one that, if anybody needs to stay active, it's him. And he's got a really good, he's got a really good shots in there and everything like that. Really good. He's got good skills, put it that way. But if you don't use them, you know the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I think that's where, he is. I mean, for him to turn down fights at this stage of his career, dude, you need to be taking all the fights you can possibly get, unless you're concentrating on, all these guys concentrate on money fights, but I think what they don't get is that these smaller fights lead to the bigger fights. You're staying active. Sooner or later, they're bound to pick you to get a title shot if you're active, because you're a recognizable name.
Well,
people know you. Your name's getting out there.
Eric, like we talked about earlier, well, they discussed it on the telecast last night during the Barrera fight. Barrera said, had he known that they were going to make the Kovalev fight a title fight, he would have taken it. But he turned it down because he didn't like the money. That's why he ended up on the co-main. Fighters need to think about the opportunities that they're given and take them. Yeah, you may not like the money you get, but if you take the fights that are offered to you and you keep winning, your paycheck is going to go up. Fighters should not worry about how much they're going to get paid. They need to worry about how they perform, and their paycheck will go up the better they do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it, Wood? I mean, as far as Brown getting shots, and I mean, how do you think he stacks up in this division? I mean,
I think Brown is excellent. I think he's one of the more athletic guys in the whole bunch. A better mover. I mean, he's still kind of he's still a little linear, I guess, because he's kind of long. But I thought just a great mix of skills, movement, hand speed, power. I think he has a lot to work with, but I don't know. I tried to contact the guy a couple of times with the information that I had when he was in Cincinnati, and he's never responded to anything because I just kind of wanted to get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I don't know. I kind of, I watch a bunch of guys on social media. It seemed like he was he was in the gym pretty hard, and I think that's why he looked so explosive against Shawnee Monahan. But I think since then, I haven't really seen him with the same type of commitment and the same type of ethic in the gym. So I don't know. I mean, I like to see him. I know he was vehement about calling out Stevenson, and I think the way that things worked out, the timing and everything, maybe he got a little frustrated that he couldn't secure that fight, and maybe he just packed it in until 2018.
Him and like 50 others couldn't secure the Stevenson fight. Stevenson ain't fighting nobody, son.
Yeah, that's kind of I don't think they reply to emails or something for him.
He's got a better shot at fighting Shakur Stevenson than Adonis
Adonis
Stevenson.
Stevenson is becoming one of the worst champions because he doesn't want to fight anybody. I don't understand a fighter like him. I mean, he's competitive against any of these guys, but he's just sitting in Montreal, not doing anything and not willing to fight anybody. It blows me away.
Yeah. shameless plug, but I actually have on the podcast that I just put up yesterday morning, I actually had a key team member of the Battle Jack camp on there. And he couldn't give me, he wouldn't give me much on what's going on with that fight, but he did just kind of speak to what Battle Jack's interest is in that fight and with Stevenson. And I think it's all pretty much a go, but it just might be, they have to finalize a few different things. But that's an interesting matchup because, one thing being is that Jack has had the slow starts in the past. And I think, Stevenson can still be a guy, that he can set that left hand up. He's not as one-dimensional as I thought he was in the past. I mean, he does some things when he's motivated, but that'll be an interesting fight if that is what comes to fruition.
Yeah, we'll see. If anybody gets a Stevenson fight, it's going to be Badu Jack. That's the only guy that's going to get that fight. Nobody else is going to get that fight because of Mayweather's connection with Badu Jack. He'll get that fight. No question about it. That will be the next one. Now, where it takes place, my guess is it'll be in Las Vegas. If Stevenson wants to take place in Montreal, I don't know. I don't know who's the A side in that fight. I don't know.
Yeah, quite a few things to hammer out in that one.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to see it in Las Vegas. I would like to see it in a neutral site. But Adonis doesn't like leaving Canada. And, hey, he packs the house, so who can blame him?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I thought it was interesting they had Farmer ringside and kind of tried to shed some light on him and his story, turning things around from what was he, like 7-4-1 or something before he went on this big streak of wins?
Something like
that. That's what
they
said, yes.
But, obviously he's not a guy with he hasn't displayed a whole lot of power at this point. So we'll see how far, his mix of skills gets him, especially if he does get past this guy that he has to face for the vacant title. And then it sounds like Gervonta Davis really would like that match, but it's just funny to me because when Gervonta was holding the title, Farmer couldn't get a sniff at a fight. So it'll be interesting how with the tables turn, whether that gets worked out or not.
Does Tevin Farmer really have a chance against Gervonta Davis? This is one of those things that just amuse me, man, because it's like, are you serious? I mean, does anybody really think that he's got a chance against Davis?
I don't think so.
I don't either. Why is everybody it's a fight everybody's calling for. They all want to see that stupid fight. I don't want to see that fight. It's a one-sided bludgeoning, man. There's no way he's beating that guy. None. Not even a little bit.
Man, I think it's just a matchup of his defensive skills that have come a long ways. Maybe they're around the same age and, maybe both guys come from that similar age group and whatnot, or, it's a certain type of fan base that's behind both guys. I mean, Baltimore and Philadelphia, kind of being in proximity and whatnot. I don't know, but it's not the greatest fight. It's just, I think I said it a couple of episodes ago, we just don't know what the hell Gervonta Davis is even doing right now.
No, considering he lost his title on the scale before his last fight even took place.
That was the IBF title,
You've got to
right?
wonder how motivated he is to actually fight.
Yeah, that was the IBF title. Yeah, look at this. We don't even have him ranked.
Yeah.
We don't even have him ranked. Robert Palmer doesn't even have him ranked on the Ringside Reporter rankings. Hey, his word is law.
You can't rank somebody when they don't fight.
His word is law. Hey, not ranked. He's not ranked. He's got Tevin Farmer ranked number 9. But hey, Robert, we defer to Robert Palmer, man. If that's the word, man. If he's not in there, he's not in there. Nothing I can do about it. All right, Wood. Where can we find your podcast?
Oh man, you can check it out at search for Talk Loud Radio on iTunes and probably everywhere that you listen to a podcast. I might throw a little article up at roundbyroundboxing.com so that people can find it because it's quite a bit of stuff on there. But also, you know, for anybody, I appreciate it if anybody could check me out over at my YouTube channel, the Pay Me No Mind YouTube channel. I gotta really. I'm not even saying I'm a great interviewer. I'm no Max Kellerman or any of that, but I talked to Layman Brewster. It's a video that I just put up a couple hours ago, and his commentary on Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua was. I enjoyed the conversation. I mean, I felt like I learned so much in hearing his perspective on that matchup. So if anybody could go over and check that out, you know, let me know what you think.
All right, good deal. And what do you mean you're not a good interviewer, man? You're a heck of a lot better than that guy, Joe Habib, I'll tell you that. Terrible interviewer. All right.
Hey, I try.
That's right.
You know, he was walking around in the back and, you know, and he wasn't somebody that I obviously went there to talk to, but I have to say one of the since I've been doing this 2 years now, one of my top 3 favorite people that I've spoken to.
Very good, man. Very good. Him and James Toney are very close from what I understand, too. Him and Layman Brewster and James Toney are very close friends. So, very good. All right, Wood, we're going to get running, guys. Okay. Go check out his podcast. He's got all the good interviews on there. So, go check him out, man. Go check him out, Wood. All right, let's go to area code 812. 812, you are live.
Is that Joe?
I don't know.
Well, hello, Joe. It's been a long time, brother.
Guys, what's going on, man?
Joe.
What's up?
What's
up, brother?
It's been too long, man. It's been too long, guys.
Absolutely,
hey,
man.
You gotta forgive me, man. I'm trying to get back into boxing. This NBA and NFL just kind of came and took over me, man. But it's just been too long, guys. So I haven't really been in the loop. I mean, I catch the fights, of course, like, you know, when they come on, but I haven't really been keeping up with the news and stuff. But I was like, man, I haven't talked to you guys in so long. It was just crazy to me. I guess starting out, like, just how time flies, because I can remember I started watching boxing faithfully in 2007, and at that time, I believe Gamboa was 4-0, and he was like this prospect that everybody was talking about. So when I was watching it last night, I was like, man, he's 35 and his record. It's just like, I was just blown away by how quickly time flies. And then watching that Cotto special they had, it was just brought back so many memories, because I started watching. The first fight I saw of him live was the pay-per-view when he beat Mosley. And it's just like to see where it's at now, just it's crazy. And it's like, man, I mean, I'm waiting to see who the new wave of boxers, like kind of like who the new Puerto Rican fighter is going to be. So it's just a lot of, just not emotions, but just a lot of like, I was thinking so much last night, just like how just blown away how quickly time goes, man. Mm-hmm. But guys, it's good to hear from you though, man. I mean, like I said, I know you probably talked about the fight already. Crusher looked impressive. I mean, I didn't expect it to end that quick, but I'm kind of happy that he got that win. And of course, I saw that Andre Ward trolled him quickly right after the fight. I'm like, Jesus, I don't know if you guys saw that, but he had tweeted something out last night right after the win. But we'll see if he can bounce back, and that'll be him and what's the guy on the co-main event, guys? The one
Sullivan Barrera.
Barrera.
His name is
Sullivan Barrera.
Yeah. I kind of like him. I mean, he just seems like a guy that he's just tough. Like he's tough to. He's got that. He's a big dude, and I mean, I think Crusher may still get him, but you just never know. And I really, hopefully, they can get that fight going for next time. But I like him, man. So. But like I said, the judging again, guys, it's just with boxing, Gamboa, I thought Sosa really won the fight as much as, rooting for Gamboa, but just doesn't surprise me anymore. You know, we've seen so many bad decisions. Like, I don't even get upset anymore. It's like, well, it's boxing, and I hate it that it's like that, but it is, you know. But Eric, real quick, man, Joe Mixon. I know I'm going to talk about boxing. That guy, he balled out.
He's a beast, son. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's the future, man. He's gonna be all right. He's gonna be all right.
If we could just get a front line, an offensive line, we'd be all right.
Yeah. So, Beeb, how's everything been going, man? Like I said, guys, I've really been out of the loop. I mean, I've talked to Robbie a few times, but we've just really talked about the NBA. But, I mean, what's been up, man? Everything been good with you guys? I hope you guys had a nice holiday and all that.
Oh, yeah, man.
Like I said, much to say. If there's any questions you have, you know.
No, things been good. The only thing is we have the potential to have an awesome 2018. We can get Canelo, Golovkin rematch. We can get Joshua Wilder. We could hopefully get Thurman Spence, but I don't think we're going to get that one next year. But the big thing is, you know, we're hearing all these fighters saying things and kind of putting all these big fights on the back burners. And I think, you know, a lot of us are getting apprehensive because we want these fights sooner than later. And it doesn't look like we may get all these fights that we want, which is part of the course of this sport. But it just makes sense that all these fights should happen next year. And if they don't, it's going to be kind of a bummer, at least a little bit. But I don't know. Hopefully we get Wilder.
Yeah,
hopefully we get Wilder, Joshua.
I got to say that, you know, this has been an amazing year. I mean, I can't deny. I mean, it's probably going to go down. Probably since I've been watching, probably been the most exciting as far as fights getting made. And it's like, you know how it is, man. Once you give somebody, you keep wanting and wanting more and more. And like, I'm just so intrigued by the next year. I think for me personally as a fan, like, I'm waiting for that one fighter that I can really like gravitate and relate to. I'm like, I can't miss this fight. Like, I'm looking forward to his next fight. Like, I had that with Thurman, but due to like his injuries and just inactivity, it kind of like I lost a lot of like steam for that. And I think for me, I just really, just as a fan, I tune in, but I don't have that one fighter that I'm truly following where I'm like, I can't miss it. You know, I can't wait for his next fight, or I wish I can go to that fight. So I think going into 2018, I'm going to really start studying more prospects and more younger guys. I know Top Rank and Golden Boy's got a nice little stable. But
Joe, if you really want to get behind somebody, I'd get behind Earl Spence. I think he's got one of the brightest futures of all the big name fighters. I think Earl Spence has got one of the brightest futures ahead of him. If you really wanted to get behind somebody, that's a guy I'd get behind.
Robbie, but he can't beat my boy Keith Thurman though. Like, I'm still Keith Thurman.
Yeah, he's a Keith Thurman guy. Yeah,
I just still wish he was more active. But he had that arm injury, you know. But I don't want to keep making excuses for him. Got to get active. I think a lot of changes are going to come. Like, I'm interested to see. One of the big questions I have going into 2018 is, are more of these fighters that are currently with PBC sign over to HBO? Because pretty impressive that HBO is finishing off. First time I've seen where they're finishing off the year with 4 straight weeks of boxing. I mean, that's to me, that's huge, man. I've never seen that. Normally they'll take the last month off, maybe have one pay-per-view in there, then that'll be it. But I'm anxious to see if fighters are going to follow the Danny Jacobs route, and with what's the guy, Eddie Hearn coming over. That's a guy. If I was a fighter, that's a guy I would definitely want to get to know. Like, he just seems like, you know, he knows what he's doing, and he's a grinder. He's going to work for you. So I'm really interested to see what happens with that. If any of those other PBC fighters that are just sitting on the shelf, if they convert over to HBO. So it's just so much to look forward to. But like I said, I felt like I lost a little bit of that spark. And again, it could be because of the NBA and the NFL, but I want to get that back because I do love the sport, man. I do love it, but I just got to get my mojo back in boxing, you know. So, but guys, I don't want to talk your head off, man. It was good to hear from you. I didn't forget about you guys. Definitely, I'll be in touch. And Eric, man, hopefully some fights come to Cincinnati or St. Louis area soon. I'll run into you again out there, man.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. And Beeb, you guys take care. And Robbie, I'll talk to you soon, man. We got some hoops to talk about, man. You guys.
All righty, man.
Okay?
All right, man.
Okay.
Take care, buddy.
Okay. Take care.
Awesome. Love hearing from Joe. All right. Area code 508. 508.
Good old Georgie.
You're live.
From this day, you'll be my new fool. There you go.
Let me tell you what, Georgie, you got about 3 weeks. You got about 3 weeks before you're going to bounce a pie off your face right on this show. That's the way it's going to go down. Because I'm taking Billy Joe Saunders for the win, and that's the way it's going to be. I'm going to stay undefeated. I'm going to be undefeated because that's how I roll. And once again, we're going to see Georgie bounce a pie off his face on this very broadcast. Georgie, what do you have to say for yourself?
Well, I got to congratulate you guys because, you know, you always fair. Never down my word, you know, because my word's stone. So, you know, that's a good thing, you know. Somebody's saying the truth in this YouTube.
That's it.
Yeah, definitely. The fight's going to be good. Hopefully there's not a robbery like the Sosa fight.
Right.
I do not understand can anybody have fucking Gamboa winning that. The whole thing, I mean, it's another black guy on boxing, man. I just, well, what's really your take on, I know you guys talked about it, but just refresh my mind a little bit.
Beeb, take it. Is Beeb gone? Beeb's out. Robbie, you take
Where'd
it.
he go?
I don't know. He
All
disappeared
right.
on us. He's
Well,
in
don't
cyberspace.
want that work. Big don't want that work.
No, Georgie, I didn't
I'm here.
score the fight, but I thought Gamboa won the first 5 rounds. I thought Sosa's won the second half of the fight. But I think if I was going to score it, I think Gamboa barely edged it out. I do not agree with the 96-92 score. I thought that was absurd. If I was gonna quote a scorecard, I'd be along the lines of 95-93, just in favor of Gamboa. But I do feel bad for Jason Sosa because he got ripped off against Walters and he got ripped off last night. So I don't know what a guy has to do to win a fight when he was competitive in both. But I don't think this is gonna help Gamboa any because I don't see him beating anybody important. That's why we said earlier, what point is there? At least Devon Alexander is 5 years younger and he's got more of a future. Yeah, he took 2 years off and now we know why, but at least he's got more of a future ahead of him. But Gamboa is 35 years old and I just don't know what he's got left.
Well, Robbie, I don't mean to break your heart, but I just got to be blunt and honest with you.
All right, you do that.
Devon Alexander is a piece of shit. I don't lie.
All right.
Doggy just don't have it on him, man. We seen this man before he got into the situation that he got. He's a spokesman against drug and addiction. And, all props to him on that regard. But every time this man has fought, he always can come out short. Every time.
You're absolutely right. And I'm not defending him, but realistically, Georgie, if you were going to bet on Devon Alexander or Gamboa, which one has a brighter future? Which one would you say?
Gamboa got a brighter future because we already seen how Oscar Coke de la Hoya can move these mafias to give him a win. Oh, that's all you need now on boxing. All you need is mafia going on the reptilian fucking barbaric way, no empathy for humanity, and pull these robberies on you. That's all you need. This time on boxing, I mean, they always been around. But what they doing these days is just like bluntly on your face. Like, I mean, he just fall out of the tree, man. I'm just sick and tired to come into the podcast saying the same shit. And it's like business as usual. Because fans don't give a fuck. Nobody seems to give a fuck. So what we're watching at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Coming down to that point.
I hear you, Georgie. There's a lot of things in boxing that we don't approve of. And, we can talk about it but nobody important listens to our opinions. All we can do is express them.
We got the WBC mafia talking about how they want to fucking fix the sport for all these drugs and all these pets and all this bullshit. And what they do, they talk about how Ortiz gotta need a second chance. How Pebble is back into the fucking rankings. And I mean, it's just hard to fight these fucking mafias, man. It's to a point that you just like, what for? You know? It's just like, I mean, just, if you, I just don't know, man. I'm so frustrated about these robberies that it's just, I don't even know what to say, guys, man. It's just crazy. But going back to Eric, baby, you better get that pie ready. You better get that ready.
We're going to have it ready for you, a big Boston cream pie. So that when it hits your face, you see the crust and everything just sliding down real slow, drips all over your shirt and everything like that. That's the way it's going to go.
and get a real pie, not one of those little table talk minis.
Oh, we're going to get a real pie, baby. You get a real pie, bounce it right off him.
You got to come out of the woodwork and attack me, because that's okay. Listen, brother. Listen, Billy, listen, man. Billy Ho.
Billy Ho.
He's a pro. He's just like a fucking media bandit, like a promotional bandit. This man just go there and promote and talk shit and this and that, and his record is almost Wilders-like.
He is
almost
ripping
right there, like you try to pick
David
a name
Lemieux
from
apart.
Billy Ho Sanders' record. It's hard to pick up a name.
I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't even be surprised if he knocked Lemieux out. I wouldn't even be surprised. He is going to
I would.
Lemieux apart. It's not even going to be close. It's all over but the crime, baby.
Eric, you got to listen to Alex. And you got to leave the drugs alone, buddy. Just don't do it. Say no.
I've been tested by the WBC. Everybody knows I'm clean.
Louis, just, I don't know, man. They're going to determine. Listen, they're going to determine. That fight right there is going to determine if Billy Ho is a real one. Bottom line.
He's beat everybody. He's beat everybody in the division. He's beat Chris Eubank Jr. Demolished Chris Eubank Jr.
He hasn't beat everybody. What about Triple G and Canelo?
He wanted to fight Triple G. Don't want any part of that. You kidding me?
You king on your block. If you're on your block, you king. You know what I'm saying? You reigning and defending on your block. But go worldwide, see what's really happening and what's good.
He's a road warrior. Going to Canada.
From that side of the front. It's like here, too. We got the same bullshit over here, but these people don't mix and match. How many real fights we have from that side of the pen and this side of the pen? Not many. Not that many. Once, maybe twice a year. These people, because it's not in the interest of the mafia. Somebody going to win, and the other side of the mafia going to look stupid. And they're going to be exposed for pushing people that should not be there. That's the same history, the same okey-doke. That dribble is mad old. Mad old. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time, guys. I'm always supporting, giving that time up, because you guys don't ask for anything. And that's a beautiful thing. Oh, talking about asking, what's up with that range, Beeb?
I gave it to you. I did it for you. I just did it.
Let me see. Oh, shit. That's a beautiful thing. I only listen to 4 channels.
I had to go on the desktop. I had to go on my desktop. I can't do it on my phone, so I did it on the desktop. That's why I was like away for a little bit when Eric was asking me a question. So I did it.
It's a beautiful thing what you did, baby. I'm gonna do the best I can to try to push the channel and all the channels that I like. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a moderator in 3 out of the 4. So that's good enough in my book.
Awesome.
Like I said before, awesome. I love you guys. Thanks for taking my call. Everybody out there, give these people the thumb up. So that's all they ask for. Thank you, guys.
Oh, man.
All right, see, Georgie. Great call as always.
Always. I got to be honest, man. I feel really bad. I feel really bad that Georgie's going to have to put a pie in his face in a couple of weeks on my account. my account. I'm responsible for it. And let me tell you what, I feel bad about that. I really do. So, I mean, just fair point. We love Georgie and everything.
How about that new name he gave De La Hoya? That was great.
That's right. That's right. Georgie. All right. The newest rankings are available on ringsidereporter.com. Robert Palmer provides us with the latest rankings. So make sure you go and check him out. Some changes to it. Jeff Horn has dropped as the welterweight champion because of you guys. Fan feedback has dropped Jeff Horn from the champion, the welterweight champion, to just a regular Joe. So there you go. That's a good one. So see, he listens, man. He's listening to you guys. There it is, man. So let's see if there's any big, Yuriorkis Gamboa jumps to number 11 following his points win over Jason Sosa, who drops to number 12. And next week, number 3, Miguel Cotto at light middleweight fights Saddam Ali. And then Ray Vargas versus Oscar Negrete, number 6 versus number 15 at super bantamweight. And so go there and check out all the rankings. Let's see here. See one where, the 130 was the one that surprised me that he didn't have Gervonta Davis. But I guess since it's vacant, I don't know. I guess we don't know if he's still fighting at 130. If he's going to move up to 135, I don't know. I don't know what young Gervonta's plans are. So we'll see what's going on. So there you go. So go check him out, man. They're really good. He works really hard on them. You know what I think, Beeb? I think I'm going to have him put a pound for pound list together for us too. I think I'm going to have him put a pound for pound list together for us.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, Robert would be very good at doing that.
Yeah, he's on top of the rankings, that's for sure. So, all right, let's talk about the upcoming fights. Tomorrow in Moscow. Won't be televised, but, you can catch it. Ask Davey Boy Essex, he'll hook you up. Sergey Kuzmin versus Amir Mansour, 12 rounds heavyweights. That's right. Amir Mansour is a late substitution. I can't remember for the life of me who he was substituting for, but I know he is a late substitution. So he'll be in there, and he'll fight tomorrow. Also on the undercard, Edward Troyanovsky, former TBE, versus Carlos Manuel Portillo, 12 rounds, junior welterweights. And then let's see here, November 30th. All right, what is that? That's Thursday, isn't it? Is it Thursday?
That's a Thursday.
All right, from Oxon Hill, Maryland, ESPN Deportes. Or same-day tape on ESPN2. Lamont Roach Jr. versus Ray Perez, 10 rounds, junior lightweights, excuse me. And then December 1st, which is a Friday, isn't it? Yeah, Friday, December 1st, on CBSSports.net, Tokakan Clary versus John Vicente Moralde, 10 rounds featherweights. Let's see what else we got here. And then December 2nd. All right, we'll get to that one too. All right, December 2nd on HBO, Saturday, from New York. In his last fight, hopefully, Miguel Cotto versus Saddam Ali, 12 rounds for Cotto's WBO junior middleweight title. And Ray Vargas versus Oscar Negrete, 12 rounds for Vargas's WBC junior featherweight title. Also on the undercard, I believe this will be a triple header. I'm not 100% sure. Angel Acosta versus Juan Alejo, 12 rounds for the vacant WBO junior flyweight title. Ronnie Rios also on the undercard versus Delvis Julio, 10 rounds featherweights. On BN Sports in Espanol, Robbie's favorite station, Ramon Alvarez versus Johnny Navarrete, rematch, 10 rounds, junior middleweights. And from Leicester, it's Leicester, right, Joe? Beeb, it's Leicester, England. That's how you pronounce it?
I think it's Leicester, yeah.
Could be Leicester.
I think it's Leicester, if I'm not mistaken. I'll hear it in the chat in a minute. Leicester, England. Anthony Yigit versus Joe Hughes, 12 rounds for Yigit's European junior welterweight title. Luke Watkins versus Mike Stafford, not the trainer, 12 rounds for Watkins, Commonwealth cruiserweight title. Craig Morris versus Ryan Martin, 10 rounds welterweights. Now, there's no channel on this. I imagine Davey Boy will have the feed, or you should probably see it on Box Nation or something like that. And that does it for this week. But next week we got the big review or big preview for a lot of good fights next week, by the way. But that's the Lomachenko Rigo fight. So let's talk real quick about Miguel Cotto versus Saddam Ali. This is a fight that Miguel Cotto should win. Saddam Ali has shown a suspect chin, obviously, with Jesse Vargas, friend of the show, Saddam Ali. I hope he wins, but I'm not holding my breath here. Miguel Cotto should knock him out. I don't see it going down any other way. Miguel Cotto, at this stage of his career, is not going to fight anybody dangerous. Enter Saddam Ali. Saddam Ali, not a big puncher. I think Miguel Cotto gets him. Robert, what do you think about this?
No, Cotto will win this. He'll go out the way he wants to go out. And I know Ali's taking this for the big name on his record, but he's never fought at 154 pounds. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks. But Cotto should walk this, and congratulations to him. He'll go on the Hall of Fame as soon as he's eligible, and congratulations on a great career, man. What can you say? I wish HBO wasn't showing this, because I don't think this deserves to be an HBO fight.
Wow.
And by the way, we're only going to see the 2 fights on this card, but It's not going to be a triple header. I wish it was. But this is a date that HBO should have passed on, and somebody else should be showing this. This is not HBO quality, in my opinion, just because Ali is, he's got a suspect chin, and his last fight was on ESPN2. So how do you go from ESPN2 to HBO? I don't get it, but okay. But, let's just get this over with, because we got a lot to look forward to next week.
What do you think? Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts? As far as Miguel Cotto goes, he was talking about fighting Canelo or Triple G. He's talking about fighting one of those 2 guys. That's who he wants. And then, all these guys available, and he chooses Saddam Ali. And I think Saddam, in all fairness, Ali is the only one that accepted the contract, because the terms to fight Cotto were so ridiculous that nobody wanted it. It's a Golden Boy special where it's, 90-10 split,
Yeah. And the only thing Oscar's doing here, Eric, is keeping it in-house.
Right, for sure.
Ali's a Golden Boy promoted fighter. And Golden Boy really didn't want to work with anybody else here. And Cotto made it very clear. He wanted to fight in December. He wasn't going to delay it any longer. He says he's got other things to do. We're stuck with something we shouldn't be stuck with, but let's just get it over with.
Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm not crazy about the fight. I don't see Saddam Ali winning the fight, but I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in Golden Boy. I'll tell you why. Because they had some good fights on the table for Cotto, and they tried to get those people that they offered the fight to get some, to get long-term options on them, and the fighters did not want to, and a lot of these fighters were PBC fighters, and they wanted to do business where they wanted to do business. And if people can say what they want about Al Heyman, well, we've seen Al Heyman work with other people before. It's not like he won't work with other people. The thing is they're not going to give up options to other people, and I don't blame them. So De La Hoya, as hypocritical as he is, it's all about making the best fights. And then he goes and says, well, he doesn't know if Canelo Golovkin's gonna happen next. And then he's trying to get these guys, he's kind of acting like real thirsty, trying to get like a guy like Errol Spence, trying to get options on him, when Errol Spence openly has said that he doesn't want to really sign with a promoter right now, and he's done fine without a promoter. And I don't want to echo what Jason said, but in certain situations, certain fighters don't need promoters, and they do better on their own. And obviously you're going to work with a promoter when you sign for a fight. But De La Hoya, I think went about this all wrong. I would have loved to have seen Cotto versus Errol Spence. I would have loved to have seen Cotto versus Mikey Garcia, and I'm sure those fights could have been made if it wasn't for De La Hoya getting greedy. But that's just my thoughts on the whole thing. But all due respect to Saddam Ali, he's getting a good payday. He's going to have the opportunity to be in there with the legend. And he's going to go down in history as being Miguel Cotto's last opponent if Miguel Cotto does stay retired. So hopefully he can put up a good fight. Money's worth. And turns out to be a good fight for the fans, and that's ultimately what we want at the end of the day. So hopefully this fight can overachieve, because my expectations for this fight are not very high at all.
No. And just real quick, Aaron Daly in the chat has corrected us. It is pronounced Leicester. So, Robert, you were correct. It's Leicester in the UK, not Leicester.
Okay, that's what I
Leicester.
thought. Yeah.
I always think of that soccer team that won, the Leicester, who won, was it a year ago? I think they won the Premier League a year ago. And I could never.
Yeah, well, that's where they come
from.
That's where I learned that at.
Right. I could never figure it out how it was pronounced, because it's such a crazy spelling for it. It's not pronounced. It's not spelled Leicester at all. It's like completely strange spelling. But nevertheless, Fred Freeman Jr. in the chat has said, talking about your call here, says fighters have started off at ESPN before they went to HBO, and I'm not sure that we get that. That's not what I think Robert means, though, when he talks about this. I think this is just not a good quality fight. This is an ESPN fight, and not that Saddam Ali doesn't deserve to be on HBO, which, I mean, I don't know that he does. But it's just not a quality fight. I mean, Miguel Cotto is a big name, and he's fighting this guy. It's just a horrible matchup. It really is. And I mean, for Miguel, this should be this is set to be should be a showcase fight for him. You know, it should definitely be a showcase fight for him. But yeah, I'm with Beeb. I don't have high hopes for this fight either. I'm kind of waiting to get through this fight to get through the Lomachenko fight, to be honest with you. What are your thoughts? I mean, as far as Cotto, and I've never and I know this comes out, we try to be unbiased, but, you know, I'll put it on the table here. I've never been a Cotto fan, ever.
Wow.
You know, he kind of under-delivers and over-promises, if that makes any sense. Never been a big Cotto fan at all. I think that, you know, I feel for him. I feel for the way his career goes, but I think he was a shot fighter, a shop-worn fighter. I won't say shot fighter, but a shop-worn fighter for sure after that first Margarito loss. And again, I mean, you have to feel for him the way it took place, because we don't have any proof that Margarito was cheating. But I would say bet the farm that he was cheating in that fight with the wraps and everything like that. The beating that he took in that fight, never the same fighter afterwards. Never the same fighter. And I think he was able to summon it up, and I think he just had a really good style against Canelo, although I thought Canelo won the fight pretty handily. I thought he put up a decent fight. Everybody thought Canelo was going to get rid of him, but he put up a decent fight, and everybody except Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. thought that he won the fight pretty handily. Ironically, the Mexican channel gave the fight to Cotto. Everybody else, of course, gave it to Canelo. But no, I've never been a Cotto fan. I think he always talks about fighting the best out there, and then he never does. I really believe that, and I'm just never been a big fan for him. I thought he always if there was a Hall of Fame for business guys, I think him and Mayweather should be in it. But as far as actual boxers, I don't know if I'd put him in it. I know he'll go, but I don't know if I would put him in there. So those are just my thoughts on Miguel Cotto. So I don't know. Not my favorite by a long shot.
Well, the way I look at Cotto, Eric, I like him inside the ring as a fighter, but outside the ring, I hate the way that him and Mayweather have conducted their business dealings. Especially Cotto, he's gone from promoter to promoter to promoter, and apparently, from what I've heard, has been very difficult to work with throughout his career. And he's done the same thing with trainers. He's went through different trainers, and I think Freddie Roach, other than his dad, I think it was his dad that he started his first trainer. I think Freddie Roach is one of the longest trainers that Cotto has had. I've never really approved of a fighter constantly switching trainers and promoters. Find somebody you can work with, and find a promoter you can work with, and focus on your career. I think there's been too much stuff going on the outside of the ring with Cotto that I've never really approved of, but he is the only Puerto Rican fighter that's ever won 4 different world titles in 4 different weight classes. And on that alone, he will go in the Boxing Hall of Fame just on that stat alone. Has he always fought the best guys when we think he should have fought him? No, but unfortunately, whether you like it or not, he's going to wind up in Conestoga when he's eligible.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean to bash Saddam Ali in here. I really don't. Saddam Ali is a good guy and everything like that, and he's a very nice guy and everything. But and he does deserve to be on HBO. He was on HBO against Jesse Vargas. We'd already mentioned that. Excuse me.
That's true.
But for Cotto's last fight, I mean, at least make it somewhat competitive. I don't know that Saddam Ali can make this fight competitive. That's what I'm saying. And I'm thinking, my thing is for Cotto, he should have had a deeper opponent, let's say, than Saddam Ali for his going away fight. So
why would he not want to at least get a Canelo Alvarez rematch to end his career? At least get one more big money fight. Maybe he's saying to himself, I got enough money, I'm not going to be greedy here. But or maybe he just wants to end his career on it with a sure win. That a fight that he perceives he can get a sure win out of. Maybe that's why he's doing this. But they were going to fight Errol Spence. Errol Spence was on the table, so that's not a sure win. But maybe so I don't know. I don't understand why he wouldn't just hang around for another Canelo fight, because he could probably get some good money out of that one.
Yeah, I mean, and I heard the rumors about Miguel Cotto and Errol Spence. Again, you're looking at Golden Boy specials there, 90-10 splits, 80-20 splits. I mean, they've got to justify Cotto some way, and especially at Rock Nation when he got that big contract for fighting nobodies. I mean, really, he really did. He got 3 big fights, one of which may have paid for everything, which was against Canelo. Canelo carried that, not a big fan, man. Just not a big fan. Businessman Miguel Cotto. That's what he is. To me, anyway. A lot of people like him, though. A lot of people love him. A lot of people think he's a warrior, and hey, you're entitled to that, for sure, for sure. So, all right, let's move ahead here. News and rumors. Errol Spence. Speaking of Errol Spence, Beeb, Errol Spence versus Lamont Peterson set for January 20th. It is now official. Undefeated IBF champion Errol "The Truth" Spence will make his first defense of his title when he takes on Lamont Peterson on Saturday, January 20th. On Showtime, the fight will take place in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. I don't understand, especially for this fight, I don't understand why the PBC doesn't go to other cities to promote these fighters and build their brand, namely Texas, where Spence is from. He was at the Dallas Cowboy game the other day. You saw him on Thanksgiving. I don't know, man. I don't know what the PBC is doing over there. They're mispromoting these guys is what they're doing. And, he's a huge star. He could be a huge star in Texas, and they take all of his fights to New York. He could probably sell out a good arena in Texas too. I don't know. Any thoughts on Peter? But I do think this is a good fight. I think Spence and Peterson is a good fight. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I like the fight. Both guys are good fighters. I think it's going to be competitive, but I think the truth is the truth of the welterweight division. I don't know if he'll ever get the chance to really prove that, considering on what side he's on. But we'll see. I firmly believe that he's the best in the welterweight division, and I think this will be a competitive fight. And I totally agree with you, because remember, after he beat Cal Brook, he said, and I quote, I want my first title defense to be in Dallas, because that's where I'm from. I want a hometown fight. And premier boxing champions in their infinite wisdom does not give him what he wants.
That is one thing they're really bad at. That is one thing I will say about the PBC. What they are really bad at is placements for these fights. The Battle of Ohio took place in Las Vegas. Sean Porter and Adrian Bronner took place in Las Vegas. Why in the world did that fight take place in Vegas? I have no clue. None.
They don't really have matchmakers. They don't.
in all fairness, I don't know if they do or not. I don't know. And we kind of speculate on it, but based on their history, it does leave you scratching your head, and based on their track record.
They don't have people in place like a Bruce Trampler, like like a Gomez, like Golden Boy, to their credit, they have good matchmakers. Top Rank has good matchmakers. You don't hear too many people talk about the match. Like most promotional companies, you'll hear about their matchmakers. If you go on PBC website, I couldn't find a matchmaker on there. Eric, you can go on. Eric Gomez is a good matchmaker for Golden Boy too. So you see a staff and you see people who are assigned to certain positions. When you go on the PBC website, you don't find that. So I don't know. I'm sure they have someone doing it, but how much experience do they have doing it? The thing about Barrera, he's always surrounded himself with people that could help his company. He's evolved. So he had people like Todd DeBuff help him out with the social networking, helping out with trying to get involved with the internet, because Bob Arum's definitely not an internet guy, but he has people around him that understand all that stuff. So the PBC really surround themselves with people that could help them. People like Bob Arum did, and even to Golden Boy's credit, they've always they had Richard Schaefer in place. They still have Eric Gomez, who's great at what he does. So who's Al Heyman's right hand man?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it, man. I
know they got the Swan.
People wonder why people wonder why I always question the way that PBC does their business. But when it comes to situations like this, this makes perfect sense. I mean, Earl Spence should be a big star in his own state. I mean, hell, I bet you Jerry Jones would allow them, for the right fight, to use the Cowboy Stadium, and I think he's a good enough fighter that he'd fill that place up if he's in there against the right opponent.
Well, you look at let's take a look here. You got Errol Spence and then the two Charlo brothers. They're all from Texas. Put those fights in Texas. Put them all three on a card. Go to Texas. Start building these guys up. That's the problem. I think that might be the big issue here. Is that you got one, like you have, like, say, Floyd Mayweather, all right, who was the biggest star in boxing. It seems like we only have one at a time. And Anthony Joshua slowly building his place in, as trying to be the big star and the pay-per-view star. We have Canelo now, who kind of took that role over. Not many stars here, not many stars. But I think if we start, like I said, going to promoting these guys, going to the hometowns, having fights in the hometowns, bringing these guys up and then taking them on tour, like it's a big deal. I don't know. I don't quite get it. And I know it's very simplistic. I'm overly simplifying it, but there's got to be something there. I don't really get it. They fall flat every time when it goes to the promotion of fighters. They just do. Also, another fight that has been made, everybody's, and they know how to promote fighters in England. Let me tell you that. Beeb and the boys know how to do it over there. George Groves versus Chris Eubank Jr. The fight has been made official for February 17th in Manchester, England. So there you go. That's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, we take care of business.
Beeb, it's time.
Check it. Choo. I got it back, baby. The cold is gone.
David Haye pulls out of another fight. David Haye has been injured again in a quote-unquote freak accident during a stair conditioning session. Now, apparently he's going up some stairs. He tripped, and I guess he put his arms out, and he tore his bicep in the process. Whatever. So this causes him to pull out of his scheduled December 17th bout with Tony Bellew. I don't know. He was going to lose that fight again. It doesn't matter. Promoter Eddie Hearn said they're going to look to reschedule the rematch for 2018. For what? And then, of course, David Haye had, I am devastated. Who cares what he said? Yeah, he's upset. Yeah, I got it.
Whoa.
every time this guy gets into a big fight, he pulls out with an injury. Shouldn't that tell you something? Shouldn't that seriously tell you something that that it's done, son?
I think at the end of the day, yeah, I think the body is just breaking down on this guy, and I think it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Joe, you're an Eddie Hearn guy, so I want you to defend him here. You're going to keep Tony Bellew on the shelf for a complete year? Because when did they fight? March? February, March, something like that? And yet you're going to keep him waiting for a possible David Haye rematch? Shouldn't Bellew be fighting somebody else and keep active? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I talked to Eddie about it, man. I don't know. I said the same thing you're saying. They just didn't want to budge on it. I don't think it's a good move. And it goes against what Eddie Hearn's saying, keeping guys in act, not trying to keep guys busy and criticizing American promoters for not keeping guys active. This is the thing with David Haye. You wait around for him again, and he'll get injured again. Same thing with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury signed to fight David Haye. Then he postponed it with injury, and then he supposedly got injured again, and then just pulled out of the fight altogether. And Klitschko complained about the same thing too, like waiting around for David Haye. The guy is just not reliable. I mean, no disrespect to David Haye. I mean, personal, but the guy's got a track record, and anyone who signs to fight him has got to know about that track record, and they got to be wary about that track record. So it's tough when you fight that guy, man. It's tough because you don't know if the fight's going to come off. You sit there and go through a training camp, and for what? Then the fight gets canceled.
I'll tell you what. If I was a fighter, I wouldn't sign to fight him. I wouldn't.
If I signed to fight him, I would try to get.
That's why if I'm Tony Bellew, guys, I got to fight somebody else. I can't wait on him.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Well, I mean, again, man, you have to have a plan B if you're going to sign to fight this. You have to have a plan B. And I know Corey's on hold, and you're listening to this, buddy. David Haye sucks. All right, there you go.
And also too is if I signed to fight him, if the fight doesn't come off, you guys got to pay me a specific amount.
Yep, it's got to be a guaranteed contract.
Yeah, at least pay me for my training expenses and
right,
something like that.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Because I mean, you put all that money. And what about you think of Matchroom too? All the money and promotion they put into this fight, sold out tickets, and I wouldn't promote him at all. I would not promote that guy at all. Because you're kind of throwing money away. It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot because he's pulled out of fights over and over again. So, train wreck of the week.
That's why if I'm Bellew, I start looking for another opponent. I mean, if you're going to be serious about staying at heavyweight, then you need to find another heavyweight that you can fight. I just don't approve of somebody waiting for somebody to heal when they've got a constant history of, getting themselves hurt every time they sign to fight somebody.
That is. So we have a new TBE on the horizon. This is very exciting to me. Cesar Cuenca was the TBE, followed by Edward Troyanovsky. So technically, Robert is who's the guy? Terrence Crawford now, because Julius Ndongo was TBE. So Terrence Crawford is the TBE right now because he beat Julius Ndongo. But we have a new TBE on horizon. WBC minimum weight champion. And I'm going to try to get this right. Wanheng Menayothin moved closer to matching Floyd Mayweather's unbeaten streak. He is 49-0 with 17 knockouts. Robert, did you hear me? I said 49-0. In case you don't know what minimum weight is, it's 105 pounds. Beeb, 49-0. Is he the best ever?
Where's he from?
I imagine somewhere in Asia. I don't know. I have no idea.
Probably is the best ever over there. I don't know. I never heard of him.
Probably in that continent, yeah.
Oh, man. So one more. He gets 50. 2 more. He's the best of all time.
Okay.
Some sad news this week. Cesar Diaz, the bantamweight prospect, was killed in a car crash on Friday night. He was killed in a single car crash in Palmdale, California. He was 20 years old. He was a former standout. He signed with Golden Boy. What in the world? Jason, we got it. We know you're on hold. I've seen you in the chat. He's messaging Beeb. What's going on here? What's the matter with you? Just hang tight.
Well, Al Heyman's got to have his say.
Oh, wow. Robbie, ready for round 2. Robbie shutting Jason down. All right. But Cesar Diaz, some sad news there. 2 more things here. Manny Pacquiao is the latest to call out Conor McGregor. He took to Instagram this week and had a picture of Conor McGregor with a caption that says, "Stay fit, my friend. Hashtag Real Boxing Match 2018. Robert, I know you're looking forward to that fight.
No.
Jason going nuts in the chat over here. My goodness. My goodness. Corey, also, my 2 favorite people, Jason and Corey, are on hold. So there you go. Tyson Fury. Last story before we go to the phones. Tyson Fury back in the gym. Tyson Fury training at Ricky Hatton's gym and posted a few photos of him clowning around. He looks to be a long way from fighting shape, but he's lost a bit of weight, man. He's looking better. So we'll see. We'll see. And now let's see here. Oh, let's see. Oh, we got new callers here. We got all right. So we're gonna go to 706, and I believe that's Jason. I believe that's Jason. If not,
that's Jason. Yeah.
What's going on, man?
What's going on? Angry Jason.
Robbie, I just called in. You don't need to cry already, dude. Come on. Wait a little bit before you cry.
Jeez.
Robbie, wait a little bit before let me get started first.
Robert, hit the cry button.
The Al Heyman of Ringside Reporter. What's up, Al?
Shots fired.
What's up, Robbie De La Hoya? How you been, man? What's up, Robbie De La Hoya? What you doing, man?
No, I wouldn't claim Oscar, man. He's back on the drugs, brother.
Well, you're always on the drugs too. How can you not claim him? Shit. You and your girlfriend, Kathy Botox Face Duva.
Oh, what's wrong? Why are you on Kathy?
I wanted to ask everybody, how did Barrera beat Joe Smith Jr. and Kovalev is coming off 2 losses and he's the one getting a title shot and not Barrera? How is that possible? How did that even happen?
Well, Jason, that goes to the damn sanctioning bodies to, I don't know how they decided that Kovalev deserved. I agree.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with main events. Nothing to do with
that. But
yeah, I mean, that's sanctioning.
I thought only the Devil and the Hitler Al Heyman only did that, like with Broner. I thought Kathy Dua was the same.
Broner earns his shots. How dare you?
Perfect. Huh?
Broner earns his shots. How dare you? Broner's a fighter, son. Cincinnati, born and bred.
And what about Golden Boy Corruption fucking robbing Jason Sosa last night? What's up with that?
That was terrible. That was terrible.
Yeah,
there's no outrage. I don't even see any videos on YouTube. People are like going crazy about it. Like,
but Beeb had the fight. In all fairness, though, Beeb had the fight a draw. Beeb had the fight a draw.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a draw.
Yeah, Beeb had the fight a draw. Incident. Just real quick, let me jump in here. If you guys are on hold, you may hear the lady come in and say there's X amount of minutes left or whatever. Don't worry about it. Just stay on hold and we'll get you in.
90 seconds.
There you go.
No, Eric, you're the only one that gets to hear that. The callers don't hear that. So.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you guys are talking about PBC not making these guys stars in their hometowns. I mean, wasn't Wilder with Golden Boy for like 35 fights? Like, how many tickets was he selling with Golden Boy in Alabama? Because I know since he's been with PBC, he sold like 11,000, 12,000 in Alabama, 10,000 once, and he sold 11,000 in Brooklyn. So how many tickets was he selling?
60 seconds.
Well, we don't know, but they're not. But the problem is they're not making stars, though. But you know what the point is? They're not making stars. Anthony Joshua goes anywhere in the UK, he's mobbed. Amir Khan.
Anthony Joshua is 1 in a fucking million.
Amir Khan like Amir Khan too. Kell Brooks selling out soccer stadiums over there. They make stars over there.
When was the last time Amir Khan even had a fucking fight in England? He sells like 2,000 tickets in America.
But he's still relevant. But he's still relevant.
Not a star.
But he's.
What are you talking about?
He's not a star. What are you talking about? He's not a
He's
star.
not a star in
He's
America.
on a television
Amir Khan is
show
not a star
right
in
now,
America.
son. What do you mean he's not a star? Of course he's a star.
He's not a star in America.
He doesn't
He can't
need to
even
be a
sell
star in
3,000
America.
tickets. What are you talking about?
He doesn't even need to be a star in America. My point is he's a star over there. He's a star.
Who cares if he's a star over there? We're talking about.
They do.
We're talking about America.
10
They
seconds.
care.
Now they're selling 11,000
They
tickets in
care if
Alabama,
he's a star
11,000
over
in
there.
Brooklyn. Who else is doing that? Just tell me that. Who else is
how
coming
about,
out
hey,
of
Jason, what about Terrence Crawford? Every time he had a fight in Nebraska, he sold the place out.
Yeah, that's Nebraska. How many did he sell in New York?
Did you see the Eddie Hearn?
Nebraska's his hometown.
Did you see? Let me ask you this.
How many did he sell in New York?
Did you see
Robbie,
the Eddie Hearn video?
Tell me, how many did he sell in New York? Don't give me some bullshit. Give me the number.
All right, hold on.
The point is, he sold out his hometown. That's what I'm talking about.
Before I bring you back on, Jason, did you see the Eddie Hearn video? The Eddie Hearn video where he's asking people on the street who Deontay Wilder is. Nobody. This was in New York.
If he would have asked any of those people who Anthony Joshua is, they wouldn't have known either.
I don't know that because he didn't ask the question.
Yeah, we know that. Of course we know that. What are you talking about?
He didn't ask the question. So
who knows Anthony Joshua in America? His fight sold like 300,000 views. What are you talking about?
Don't know. I don't know.
I feel like I'm talking to some idiots. Like, you guys are supposed to be experts. What are you?
Whoa!
Hey, you're out of control, brother.
Which fighter from Alabama or California or fucking Oma is coming to New York and selling 12,000 in the Barclays? Who the fuck is doing that?
Anybody who goes to the Barclays, it's a fight town. Nobody's fighting at the Barclays.
Who does that? Broner and Berto sold like 7,000, 6,000 tickets. Broner versus Berto.
Regandow and Lomachenko sold out Madison Square. What? Are they PBC?
No, it didn't.
Yes, they did.
4,000 tickets at the fucking theater. It didn't sell out Madison Square.
Where do you think the theater is?
Room, Jason, it's in the big room. It's
where do you think the theater is? Have you been outside of Georgia?
No, they didn't.
Have you been outside of Georgia? Have you ventured outside of that state? Have you been outside of there?
What about?
Where do you think that?
Are
Where do you think the theater is?
I've probably been to more countries than you even know. So just
where
let
do
that
you
go,
think
first
the
of all.
theater is? Where is it?
See, like,
what's the matter with you?
What? What? Where's what?
Where's the theater?
Say it again. Where's what?
Where's the theater?
What do you mean? Where's the theater?
Where's it at?
You want me to tell you the exact location? I don't live in New York.
I can tell you exactly where it is. Right next to Madison Square Garden. They're connected.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying, you want me to tell you the address? What do you want?
He didn't even know where the theater was.
They're not in the big room. I know they're not in the Madison Square Garden full room, are they? Or am I wrong?
Get an atlas and travel outside of Georgia, okay? You're going to find it's a big world, son.
So you're saying Lomachenko versus Rigo is in the big Madison Square Garden arena where the Knicks play?
No, but it's at Madison Square, the theater.
So why did you say they
Square.
sold out the Madison Square Garden? Why'd you lie and say they sold out Madison Square Garden just to make a cheap point?
It is the same place.
Yeah, but it's not the same arena. It's not the same arena. Why do you keep lying like that?
They're connected, brother. It's in the same place.
What does that have to do with
This
anything?
is what happens.
What does that have to do with anything?
When cousins marry and you never leave Georgia, okay? This is what happens.
What?
Get this.
You lied and said he sold out Madison Square Garden. I know they're fighting in the theater, so how are they going to sell out the Madison Square Garden if they're not even fighting in the garden? They're fighting in the tiny little theater where Michael Conlan sold out when his first or second pro fight.
Michael Conlan.
So is that really a big achievement? That Loma and Rigo haven't even sold it out yet? When Michael Conlan did?
Could you sell it out?
Is that really that big of an achievement?
Could you sell it out? Then I guess it's a pretty big achievement, huh?
Who?
You.
No, Wilder sold out 11,000, and you guys are saying they're not building stars, and you're bragging about them selling out the little ass theater.
Wilder
what are you talking about?
Like I said, Terrence Crawford sold out all his hometown fights.
But
what's your point?
Yeah, what is your point?
Yeah, well, Wilder fought in a way bigger arena than Crawford does, so he sold out 12,000. Crawford sells like 13,000, 14,000, so it's pretty much the same thing. But when Crawford comes to New York, he doesn't fight in the Barclays or a big arena. He fights in the theater, right? Or am I wrong?
No, I think you're.
Nobody other than hardcore boxing fans knew who the hell Julius Ndongo was. How
was it?
Yeah, you guys said that Top Rank is building big stars. They're big. They're great promotional companies.
Not what I said. Not what I said at all. Not what I said.
Oh, really? So why didn't he sell out? Why didn't he sell 11,000 tickets in New York like Wilder? If Wilder is such a shitty small star.
But that's not what I said.
Why can't you answer? Why can't you answer this basic question? How is Wilder selling 11,000 tickets in Brooklyn if he's not a star? How?
Wilder can't even sell that in his hometown. Wilder's not even selling that in his hometown.
Why?
Because you know why? Because he was fighting Louis Ortiz. Because he was fighting Louis Ortiz.
He's selling like 12,000 tickets. What's wrong with that?
He was fighting Louis Ortiz.
Who else is selling 12,000 tickets? Who else is selling 12,000 tickets?
Canelo.
Because if you're a heavyweight, if you're a heavyweight champion, you sell out everywhere you fight.
Who? When was that? When Tyson fought or what? When was that?
All right, but look.
Or when Brian Jennings was fighting.
Let me ask you a question.
See, like you guys, I just destroyed every one of your bullshit talking points, and you can't even argue it. Instead of making cheap fucking little, you can't even argue that Wilder is selling 11K tickets in New York when fucking Crawford couldn't even pay people to watch that many people in the arena. Crawford couldn't pay 11K people to come watch and fight. And
what, in Omaha?
Who's a fucking no-name?
He sells out in Omaha. He sells out in Omaha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that, Beeb. I'm giving that fact up. I'm saying he sold like 13 or 14,000, and Wilder sells 11, 12,000 in Alabama, doesn't he? Or am I lying?
I'm not sure. I have to go back and research that. I'm not sure if he sells out.
I don't know.
He hasn't fought in Alabama in a long time.
Dude, I didn't say he sell out. I said he sells 11, 12,000 tickets out of a 20,000 seat arena. Who cares if it didn't sell out? He's selling 11, 12,000. Is that bad?
But I do know this. I do know that Anthony Joshua
could be better.
Selling out stadiums over there. I know that Kell Brook is selling out stadiums over there. So
yeah, that's Kell Brook and Joshua. Yeah. Who else? Who else does that? Maybe like Anthony Corolla. So they have like
Groves,
3 guys in England.
Chris Eubank.
Tony Bellew sells big out there too.
David Haye.
Chris Eubank doesn't sell out stadium. He's going
to sell it out in Manchester.
White sold 8,000 tickets. Chisora and White sold 8,000 at the R2.
He's fighting George Groves. That fight is a sellout. That fight is going to be a sellout.
Yeah, so why did Danny Jacobs only sold like 5,000 tickets? If Eddie Hearn is such a big promoter, why did they only sell 5K?
And you're talking about
number one, they put it in a horrible location.
Yeah, but why would they put it in a horrible location if Eddie Hearn is such a genius? Why would they do that?
I never said Eddie Hearn was a genius.
We all say Eddie Hearn's a wank.
You guys have been licking his fucking feet like he's a saint.
You have?
God, what kind of... Sometimes I wonder what the hell you're listening to, Jason.
I mean, jeez, dude. I mean, Danny Jacobs, he's not gonna sell more than 6,000-7,000 next time he fights in Barclay either. He's not Deontay Wilder. I just can't believe you guys keep saying PBC doesn't create stars. I mean,
I honestly don't know the point of your phone call. Okay. I'm really confused here.
Mikey and Broner also just sold 14,000 tickets to Barclays. Danny and Thurman also sold 14,000. Those are all PBC fights. Those are not Eddie Hearn or top ranked fights. So when you guys say shit like they don't build stars, you guys should, keep all these numbers in mind. How many tickets they're selling. They sold 11,000 at Barclays when Tank fought Pedraza and Jack fought DeGale. Who else is doing all these numbers? Multiple times a year, besides Canelo or Joshua. Nobody is. That's my point. And you guys never mention this kind of thing. Even Beeb, you don't even mention this kind of shit. You guys are just like, oh, they're not building stars. You guys acting like they sell 2,000-3,000 tickets when they're selling 10,000, 11,000 tickets 3 or 4 times a year.
Right, but they're doing it.
Nobody else is doing that.
England is doing this on a regular basis, son. They're doubling and tripling these rates.
Yeah, well, we're not England. We're not England, dude. We're not England. We're America. Stop talking about England. What are you talking about England for? Who cares about England?
Because we're talking about people making
90% of the fights are like 90% of the fights on Matchroom are your level trash. We would never even watch those fights.
You've got whether a true boxing fan's got to care about what the UK is doing, because actually they're supporting this sport, and a lot of us here in America are not. That's why over here boxing is a niche sport. Over there, it's a big deal. You got to pay attention.
Yep. He doesn't. All right. Well, so let's see. Kell Brook's first defense was Kell Brook versus Jojo Dan, if I'm not mistaken, on pay-per-view. That just shows you how stupid the British fan base is. That's how uneducated they are. They're paying pay-per-view prices for a bum like Jojo Dan. Then they're paying it for Kevin Bizier. Then they're paying it for who was the third guy he put on pay-per-view? That third fucking bum-ass defense he had. Kevin Bizier, Jojo Dan, Frankie Gavin. Yeah. That was his first 3 defenses. Can you imagine Errol Spence doing that in America on pay-per-view?
Yeah, but what were his numbers for those defenses?
Yeah, wasn't Cal Brook an Al Heyman fighter too at one point?
Numbers? No, oh, hell no.
He wasn't managed by Al Heyman, Cal Brook at all?
No, hell no, never.
I know Cal Frampton was.
Only DeGale.
So, Beeb.
James DeGale.
Only DeGale and Frampton.
Oh, DeGale and Frampton, okay.
Yeah, but see, you guys just went silent after I named you his 3 fucking defenses. That's like criminal defenses.
And he's fought a lot of PBC guys too, hasn't he?
He has to be calling him the devil.
Yeah, but hasn't he fought a lot of PBC guys? Cal Brook?
Who's fought a lot of PBC guys?
Cal Brook.
Sean Porter, yeah.
Not really. Who?
Sean
Porter wasn't a PBC guy. He was a Showtime guy back then.
Errol Spence is a PBC guy.
PBC didn't even exist back then.
Errol Spence is a
PBC didn't even exist when he fought Sean Porter.
Is it Bizier? Was it Bizier Al Heyman guy too?
I think he might have been. Yeah, I think he might have been.
No.
I think he might have been, yeah.
Double check it.
Neither Kevin Bizier, neither Cal Brook. And also, another thing.
When you punch in tomorrow, make sure you ask the Watsons.
Say that again?
I said, when you punch into work tomorrow, make sure you ask the Watsons. Make sure you ask the Watsons if Bizier is a Heyman fighter.
Before you wash Al's car tomorrow, ask him if Bizier was one of his fighters.
Why? I just know. I've never even heard of Bizier. Nobody in America has ever heard of Bizier. How is he going to be a Heyman fighter?
Well, then you're not a good source to ask that question to them. You never heard of the guy.
Who? Ask who?
What else he got?
You go to work tomorrow. Ask the Watsons, aren't they?
No, but I was.
Don't you share an office with the Watsons?
He shares a bathroom with the Watsons on the same
gym
floor.
in California. That's why I built that gym. But hey, what were Joshua's first 2 defenses? Weren't there like Eric Molina and fucking what was it? Eric Molina and Dominic Brazil?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter though. You're talking about. I mean, but it's still sold out. You're still
no.
I'm
saying those fights were in pay-per-view. Can you imagine Wilder fighting those guys? Because he gets shit for fighting those guys anyway.
But
can you imagine those fights being on pay-per-view? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
that's what a shitty market UK is.
No, but in fairness though, I'll give you an example. Like say the Floyd Mayweather fight, the Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao fight was a pay-per-view here. Was not a pay-per-view in Mexico. Was not a pay-per-view in other parts of the world. And stuff
Nothing is pay-per-view in Mexico. Nothing is pay-per-view in Mexico.
Anthony Joshua,
in Mexico, okay?
You're wrong. Anthony Joshua.
Nothing is pay-per-view in Mexico.
Okay.
Did you hear me?
I heard you, but you're wrong. Just because you say with conviction doesn't make it right.
That makes no sense.
Doesn't make it right.
Nothing is pay-per-view. Even if Canelo is dancing naked with Oscar, that won't be on pay-per-view either.
It doesn't make it true. That's your lesson.
What doesn't make true? What are you trying to say?
You saying something over and over again does not make it true.
What? That UK market is so shitty that you could put Joshua versus Brazil on pay-per-view? It is shitty. America, you could never put that fight on pay-per-view.
The other thing,
Showtime didn't even want to run on free Showtime.
Hey, Beeb, wasn't the Joshua and Klitschko fight on pay-per-view over there?
To run on pay-per-view.
Over there it was, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so
too.
That's
how shitty their market is.
It was on Sky, yeah.
But it's a big fight over there. Again, it's a big fight over there. And like Floyd Mayweather's pay-per-views, they're on Box Nation over there. You know what I mean? So it just depends on what market you're in. So just because it's on pay-per-view doesn't necessarily make it a good or bad thing. It's just a thing. If it's
Bob Arum does low-level pay-per-views in Mexico, like Mexican fighters. Done pay-per-views for them. No, he's done small pay-per-view shows. Charges like $30-something for them. I remember, yes.
Yeah, he used to do those all the time, way back.
All the time.
Way back
in America, not in Mexico. Mexico does not pay pay-per-view. First of all, these
how do you know?
Sports and
how
all
do
that
you,
crap.
how do you know this when you don't?
I'm gonna message Chakal. Chakal's in Mexico right now. I'm gonna message him and ask him if there's pay-per-views in Mexico.
You're the one stuck in the ghetto in Cincinnati. You're talking about Georgia.
Okay, to explain.
He's not in the. He can't see that mansion over there. He doesn't see it.
Oh, what are you trying to explain, Robbie? Instead of being condescending, why don't you just explain it? You're trying to sound complicated. Why don't you just explain it?
Ooh, this kid's all over you.
Are you trying to explain that Joshua can fight Brazil and Molina on pay-per-view in England and in America? That would be a shit pay-per-view nobody would buy. That's what I'm trying to say. That's how shitty market UK is. That you can rape the fans with shitty pay-per-views like that. In America, you can't.
No, of course not. Mayweather McGregor.
Maybe
that was a great pay-per-view.
Pacquiao.
That was a great pay-per-view.
What about Mayweather McGregor? What about it?
It sucked.
Who said? You're the one that was saying that was a great fight. I remember the post show. You were the one that loved the fight the most. What are you talking about?
I say a lot of stuff.
You love that show. I mean, you love that fight, Eric. Stop lying.
I love that fight.
But listen, you know that Deontay Wilder could never fight Molina or fucking Brazil on pay-per-view in America. That's all I'm trying to say. That's how the level of competition in America and the UK is. Or Errol Spence could never fight Frankie Gavin on pay-per-view. That would not even be a question. Nobody would even ever say that. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're wrong.
Would that be possible?
No.
I'm what? I'm wrong?
Georgie just tweeted, Robbie killed his puppy and stole his gun. He killed his puppy.
This call makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, because all your talking points have been destroyed, Robbie. I know. That's what Steve Kim does too, and you're doing the same thing. Robbie Kim on his fucking period again.
Don't bring up somebody that is not affiliated with this show, man.
That's your godfather. I'm gonna bring him up every time. Stop complaining about it, okay?
You can't bring him. He's not affiliated with our show.
You worship Steve fucking cheesegrater face Kim.
No, I don't. I enjoy his show. I don't worship anybody, for God's sake.
You worship that guy because everything you say is like pretty much coming from him. Like
it's time for this call to end, in my opinion.
Jason, we love you, man. You bring the heat every time. We love it.
Let Corey in, man. Let Corey in. I think that Corey guy's been waiting too. Thanks for letting me in.
All right, man. How can you not like Jason, man? I love him. I love it. Corey.
No, but I want Davey Boy Essex or somebody from the UK to explain to Jason how the television market works over there.
All right, hang tight. Corey's on. Corey's on. Give Corey the floor. Corey.
Hello, Corey. What's up?
And by popular demand,
I'm
back.
There it is. By popular demand.
Yeah. What's going on, Beeb Industries? What's going
on? What up?
In the Sosa Gamboa fight. What's up, man? They took my money. Beeb Industries. I picked Sosa. Where's my money? My girlfriend wants the rent money. Oh, oh man. Where do I start, man? It's just awful, man. The way the judging is in New York City. I mean, pretty much.
Do you got us on speaker?
Especially New York City.
Do you have us on speaker? Take us off speaker.
No, can you hear me better now?
Yeah. That's much better.
All right, now I have my headset in. But the judging in New York City, man, is atrocious. I mean, Sosa versus Gamboa. Gamboa was down before you even went to the scorecard. Gamboa was -3 points. That's just off the top.
I don't know. I don't know where that 96-92 card came from. That did not make any sense.
He got 2 points taken away from a knockdown. He was clearly hurt, and then he got another point taken away from, I think, illegal low blows. So he was down 3 points. Everybody, and this is another thing that I don't understand. I don't respect about Max Kellerman and the rest of the HBO analysts. They were saying that they were like Gamboa's he's not good. He's getting old. He's doing this. He's doing that. And they were hyping up Sosa. Okay, that's understandable. They're gonna rock with their guy, I guess. The favorite to win was Sosa. Gamboa was a late replacement on God knows what notice. made weight. And he made weight, and he did, he did understand. He did pretty good for the situation he was in. I understand that. But HBO's backing Sosa now, so for him to be backed by, the HBO analysts, they would just completely not. That's what I don't get about. That's what I don't get about the whole HBO. I mean, it's like they're hypocritical. You got to understand they're fucking going hard against Gamboa the whole time. And then listen, y'all, listen. As soon as they read the scorecards out, they're like, everybody in the whole fucking crowd except them were like, "What the fuck is this? There's no way Gamboa won this fight." And as soon as the scorecards were read, Max Kellerman has been knocking Gamboa the whole time. As soon as the scorecards were read, they were on Sosa's side. And as soon as the scorecards were read, they were like, "Oh man, Sosa's got a gift decision before, so it's just one against him now. It's just, he's got a gift decision before, so this is nothing new, and all of this." And I'm just like, wow, man, they're going down that route now. It's fucking awful, man. I mean, just the HBO's going downhill, man. HBO's scum. HBO's trash. I'm not backing any of their fights. Kovalev versus Shabranskyy was supposed to be a coming back, fight, which is understandable. But why did you ask yourself this question, y'all? Because I didn't hear anybody say anything about this. Why isn't Kovalev fighting Barrera? Did anybody say anything about that today?
Corey, I covered that earlier in the show. Barrera was offered the fight, but he turned it down because he didn't like the money.
Oh, so they tried to low blow him again. It's just shit, You just get this shitty end of the stick. I mean, I would, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have mind seeing the Barrera Beeb fight. That would have been a fucking barn burner, man. What do y'all think about that fight?
Yeah,
that was actually on the table. They were actually going ahead. They had a date scheduled, and for whatever reason, Beeb's manager couldn't, kept changing the venues and stuff like that. And Barrera just said, "Fuck the hell with this. We already postponed it twice already. Fuck this. I'm not gonna keep getting strolled around." And fucking, he just wound up leaving. But the fight was damn sure ready to go down. I would have loved to see that fight. How do y'all feel about the Barrera Beeb fight?
Let me tell you what. I think that any fight against any of the top players in that division is so stacked. And on any given day, any one of those guys can beat any of the others. And I mean, with Ward out of that division now, I think that division is completely wide open. Yeah, I like Barrera, Kovalev. I like Barrera against anybody. And Badu Jack's moving into that division. You still got Adonis Stevenson up there. It's like a murderer's row.
And once Joe Smith gets fully healthy, he'll be back.
Yeah, he's another one.
There's another guy.
Joe Smith didn't show me anything in the Barrera. Why would you mention Joe Smith? Yeah, he knocked a 50-year-old. He knocked a 50-year-old out of the ring. But Robbie, come on, Robbie.
No, well, Corey, before he fought Hopkins, he destroyed Valera. Remember that?
Robbie, Joe Smith is he exceeded the cab driver. You know what I'm saying? The whole cab driver. You know what I'm saying? He's a little bit better than the cab driver. I mean, I'll give him that. He did knock out 40-year-old Bernard Hopkins, 50-year-old Bernard Hopkins. He did this, he did that. But for you to mention Joe Smith's name with the elite 175-pounders.
Hey, I think once he comes back from his injury, I think he can be right up there. Give me a break.
That's blasphemous. You know nothing about boxing, Robbie. And I've actually been on your side. I've actually been on your side lately. You just threw me off the cliff again, man.
Well, hey, Joe's gonna prove me right because he'll come back.
Joe Smith is an elite light heavyweight.
Corey, I didn't say anything about elite. I'm just throwing his name out there as another guy in the 175-pound division.
Eric, were we or were we not talking about elite 175 pounds? Were we just not talking about that?
In fairness, we were talking about that it's stacked, but
come on, Robbie. Joe Smith gets no brownie points. He lost a very, very, very wide margin to Sullivan Barrera. He might have had one. I think he had one knockdown, but Sullivan Barrera's chin suspect anyway. So,
do you think his power? Do you think that Joe Smith's power makes him a factor?
I do.
I mean, Barrera put on a hell of a performance boxing. He just boxed the ears off of Joe Smith. I don't know if any of y'all watched this fight, but Joe Smith he's actually out of my top 10 in the light heavyweight division. I mean, honestly, I can't even throw him in the top 10 right now. I don't think. I mean,
let's see where we got him.
My top 5 are gonna be Kovalev.
Yeah. Read our rankings, Eric. At
Corey, your rankings don't matter. Let me read our rankings.
I mean, if Robbie has anything to do with your rankings, it's gonna be shit.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
I'm just messing with you, Robbie.
All
right. Let me read them off because nobody cares about Corey's rankings here. Light heavyweight, 175. Sergey Kovalev, number 1. The championship is vacant. Sergey Kovalev, since our boy Andre Ward left. Sergey Kovalev, ranked number 1. Adonis Stevenson, number 2. Interesting. Sullivan Barrera, number 3. Alexander Gvozdyk, number 4. Elider Alvarez, very interesting, number 5. Badu Jack, number 6. Arthur Beterbiev, number 7. Bivol at number 8. Robbie's boy, Joe Smith, comes in at number 9. And
there you go. See?
Marcus Brown, number 10.
Yeah, now see, reading all those names, they're all competitive against one another. Argue all those names?
I mean,
Joe Smith is ranked number 10 by the ring, too. He's ranked number 10 by the ring.
I love the story of Joe Smith Jr., but the boxing is the pure boxing science is not there. He has power, yes.
Yeah,
give him that.
I would agree.
He has power. You've seen the power, but for him to have a chance on beating any of those guys, he has a puncher chance. Yes, and he's in a heavier weight division, so yes, he does have a chance. Yes, he does have a puncher chance. But he's not going to be the favorite to beat any of those guys you just named in the top 9. Any of those guys, he's not going to be the favorite. Nor are they going to pick him to win.
But Corey, in all fairness, though, he would be competitive against most of those people. Are you going to say that each one of those people are going to blow him out?
In the points, yes. Because if he doesn't land that one lucky shot, he has no chance. And I honestly believe that. Barrera won every round other than the round he got knocked down in.
Well, remember, he broke his jaw, too.
Decisively, though. Decisively. I understand he broke his jaw, man. There's other fighters that's broken their jaw that's went through, and there's others. And then you got Victor Ortiz that quit. So that's why I respect him. I can respect Joe Smith. He's a worker. He's still, he has pretty much like a Brian Jennings type of story. He does work on the side, and he does boxing. It sounds like he does boxing part-time. So I got to give him kudos to that. But as far as me picking him for any of those fights that I just named, Robbie, you are completely wrong. You're wrong.
Look, I'm saying that he would be competitive against most of those people. Am I picking him to win most of those fights? Probably not. But you can't forget about him. This division is stacked.
It's pretty stacked. So back to what I was saying. So it was 3 fights on HBO. It was the Gamboa Sosa. It was the Kovalev. And then what was the other one? I'm trying to
Sullivan Barrera.
Oh yeah, the Barrera. Damn, they just 175 the hell out of that main event type, co-main event thing. So who's Barrera? They said he was fighting Bivol next, maybe.
Yeah, he's the mandatory challenger. That's who he's got to fight next.
All right, so I mean Bivol versus Barrera. Who do y'all picking? I mean, I got Bivol on that one.
I like Barrera.
I
like Barrera.
I like Barrera.
Yeah. And
a lot.
Somebody in the chat just said Joe Smith actually retired. Did you guys hear this? That somebody in the chat just said that Joe Smith retired because he got employee of the construction job. So
I would favor Bivol, but honestly,
that was a funny one right there.
Honestly, I would pick Barrera though. Like Bivol's going to be the favorite. Bivol's going to be the favorite.
Yeah, Bivol will be favorite, but I think Barrera's got a hell of a shot if that fight.
I think he has a hell of a shot too.
So let me ask you this: in y'all's eyes, and I want an answer from each one of y'all. Who is the top light heavyweight? Since we're on the light heavyweight we're on the light heavyweight discussion right now. Champion or no champion? Who's the number one light heavyweight in your eyes right now? I got it. Hands down.
I'm gonna say Kovalev.
That's Corey. That's Corey's point of view. The art of
I'm gonna say Kovalev.
He definitely has the power. He hasn't let anybody go to distance yet. He had at his 12 or 11 professional fights, he's knocked out everyone, and he does it decisively. I think he toyed with Colin his last title fight he just did. I think he toyed with him until the 12th round because there was only a minute left, and he knocked him out right on cue. Better Beeb is the shark in that fucking division, and he's a titleist now, so they got to respect him.
Well, I think until you beat Kovalev, I think Kovalev's got to be the number one guy in the division.
Kovalev has been washed before and been knocked out
by the best fighter on the planet.
Remember, Andre Ward is not around to do that anymore.
By the
so one of
best
these other light
on the
heavyweights has
planet,
got to
Simon.
step up and prove that they can do that.
I don't care. Listen, I don't care if you get knocked out by Floyd Mayweather. Beebs, am I wrong? If you get knocked out once, it's bound to happen again. I don't care if it is from one of the greatest.
That very word. But you look at his resume, and you look at his resume.
Your body. Listen, it's a difference between you having a chin and then you getting stopped to the body. Those are body blows.
Right.
You don't just get a strong chin overnight, and you just don't get a strong body overnight. If one of these champions like Arthur Beterbiev goes to Sergey Kovalev's body, he's finished in 11.
Yeah, but here's the deal. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you that, Bivol and all the others may be the goods. All right. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying if you look at the body of work that has been put in by Kovalev with championships, undisputed, all the other stuff, and he's only got 2 losses to the best guy in the planet right now, Andre Ward, who's retired. I'm just saying that right now you have to give him the benefit of the doubt until he's beat again by one of the young guns.
So Beebs, who you picking? Who's your number one light heavyweight right now, buddy?
Kovalev. I gotta say Kovalev till someone else beats him.
Yeah, no, it is Kovalev until he loses again, man.
No.
Robbie said Joe Smith.
This show has just been shit
No.
all day. Oh God.
Eric, I just threw his name out there because
Robert,
we're talking
I know.
about the
I'm
light
kidding.
heavyweight division.
I'm
he wasn't
kidding. Just
mentioned.
relax, buddy.
We're gonna go ahead and scrap this show, man. This show is just scrapped.
Scrap this call.
Good call, Corey. Good call.
But how do y'all pick Kovalev? Honestly.
Well, we just told you. His body of work.
Resume, man. Resume.
I'm not even saying, like I said, man. Yeah, I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying that he can't get beat.
I got a fun fact for y'all. You said Kovalev's body of work.
Yeah.
What about the work? What about the work in his body?
What's the matter with you?
Well, Andre Ward has been the only one to expose that. Let's see if somebody else can follow that blueprint. I don't know if anybody can.
John David Jackson said he was his trainer for over 10 fights. John David Jackson said if any of the elite light heavy, not just Andre Ward, but if any of the light, and this is another thing. This is something that you have to put in your head. For y'all guys that are saying that Sergey Kovalev is your number one light heavyweight, Andre Ward is not even the most powerful puncher in his division, and he knocked him down and knocked him out with the body. Just imagine if Arthur Beterbiev or Bivol hits him to the body.
Gotta land them. Gotta land those shots.
Y'all.
Hey, I heard Shabranskyy was a big puncher too.
Boxing is a show me business. You got to show me.
That's
Andre
it.
Ward has never been a devastating puncher. He's been respected, yes, but he's never had that one-punch knockout power.
No, because Andre Ward did not make his living doing that. Andre Ward made his living by putting people in the ring and and exposing their weaknesses and taking them the distance. He didn't have to knock everybody out. Andre Ward fought completely different than most of these other guys.
You got to understand too, Robbie. This is what I've been trying to get through your thick ass skull. What I'm trying to tell you is that Sergey Kovalev has an extreme drinking problem. And when you drink that much vodka, buddy, your body is immune to body.
Oh my God!
I love how we hear stuff. I love how we hear rumors and just run with them as fact. All right. Yeah, we heard Kovalev had a drinking problem.
I'm being completely honest.
What's the matter with you guys?
When you drink that much during camp, look, this dude John David Jackson, he said he was on record by saying Kovalev drunk during camp. Why he was still his trainer? So why would he have to lie about that?
Yeah, I know. I know. He went on a podcast and told everybody that. I've heard all about it.
All right, guys, we got to get moving on. We got to Corey. We got to get moving.
All right, see you later, Corey.
Robbie just dismissed him.
He's a professional athlete.
All right, Corey, we got to get running, buddy.
Y'all picking him number one, man. That's my call, man. I love the show. Can't wait to call y'all next week. All right, man.
All right, man.
My podcast until we meet again.
That's right. All right, man. Good call from Corey. All right, real quick, and then we got to wrap it up. Area code 312. 312, you're live.
Fight Doctor in the house on Rick James status as always.
Fight Doctor.
Hello, Doctor. What's up, brother?
What's up, buddy?
Okay. All right. I'm going to need a minute. I'm going to need a minute because there's some corrections that need to be made.
Oh, my God.
Okay? There's some corrections that need to be made. And we're going to have to talk about the concept of the lineal championship, which is the only title in boxing that matters. WB whatever doesn't make a difference. Okay? Alphabet organizations, their trinkets are meaningless. Does not matter. Okay?
I'll go along with
Joe
that.
Louis. No, there is no go along with it. It's the simple fact of the matter.
Yeah,
okay?
I'll go along with
Listen,
that.
when Joe Louis was heavyweight champion of the world, there was no WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. Okay? Joe Louis was heavyweight champion by virtue of the fact that he beat the man. Who beat the man? That's what made Joe Louis heavyweight champion, not the WBC, not the WBO, not the WB. I give less than a fuck. Okay? Now that we've got that out the way, let's talk about light heavyweight. Okay?
Yes.
How are you the man in the division when you lost your last two fights? Okay? That's question number one.
Okay.
Question number two. How are you the man in the division? How are you the man to beat in the division when you have beaten nobody? When you have beaten nobody but tomato cans. Where light heavyweight is concerned, the man to beat at 175 pounds is Adonis Stevenson for two reasons. Number one, Adonis Stevenson is the man at light heavyweight. He is the lineal champion, which is the only title that makes any sense, that means anything. Those paper trinkets that are held by those other so-called champions don't mean shit. They mean nothing.
But Fight Doctor,
they are meaningless.
But Fight Doctor, how can you put Adonis Stevenson as the number one light heavyweight when he does not want to fight anybody? He picks and chooses his opponents.
I would be more than happy to answer that question. Why can I say that Adonis Stevenson is the man at light heavyweight? Because he beat the man. That is at the end of the day, that is what makes you the man. You may not like who he fights, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, he beat the man, which makes him the man. We may not like who he defends his title against, but the simple fact of the matter is this. Adonis Stevenson
beat the man at 175 pounds, which makes Adonis Stevenson the man at 175 pounds until such time that he retires or is beaten. Those are the facts. I have 100 years of boxing tradition that says as much. Now, if you want to argue with 100 plus years of boxing tradition, fine, go right ahead. Me personally, I choose not to. Okay? So anyone who says anyone other than Adonis Stevenson is the man to beat at 175 pounds does not know shit about boxing, period. Okay? That's just the way it is. Listen, I love you guys. I really do. I really love you guys. But when you're wrong, you're wrong. And when you're wrong, the fight doctor has to call in and correct you guys and set you straight. Boxing is boxing. 100 years of tradition. In order to beat a man, you have to beat the man.
Look,
okay?
Fight doctor, your argument is sound. It makes sense. But with the way the sport of boxing works today, it's very hard to recognize somebody who does have that particular belt, who's got that particular title, but he chooses not to put it up against anybody important. He takes safe title defenses that he knows he can win. How can you call him a true champion when he doesn't want to act like a true champion? I don't look. Your argument makes sense, but in today's way of boxing people doing business, I can't believe that you would want to support a person who basically doesn't want to fight anybody. How can you come out here and say that he's the number one guy when he doesn't act like the number one guy?
Okay, all right. Well, so then, all right, let me ask you a couple of questions. Now, when the question was posed, who was the best or who was the number one guy at light heavyweight, there were two answers given. The first was the first name given was Sergey Kovalev, and the second name given was Artur Beterbiev. Those are the two names given. Now, I have a question regarding those two fighters. Now, first, we're going to talk about Mr. Beterbiev. Now, my first question is, exactly who is Beterbiev beaten to be recognized as the number one guy at light heavyweight? I mean, who? Who is he beating?
Look, Fight Doctor, I would never put him as the number one guy because he's only had 12 fights.
Thank you. Okay, so now that we've
I would agree with that too. Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Shut that nonsense down. Question number two regarding Mr. Kovalev. Exactly what has he done lately to be regarded as the number one light heavyweight in the world?
Well, he's been active. He's been active. I think that's the thing, is that when I look at this, he's lost to Andre Ward twice. First fight, you can make a case that he beat Andre Ward. Judges said no, so you lost the fight. It goes on his record as a loss. He fought Shabranskyy. He fought Andre Ward twice. Isaac Chilemba followed. Before that, it was Isaac Chilemba, Jean Pascal, Mohammadi, Pascal, Hopkins. He stayed active, and I think he stayed active against good competition, including Nathan Cleverly.
So being active is enough to be considered. So wait, being active
and winning
is criteria enough to be considered as the best guy in the division.
Listen to what I'm saying here. Being active against top-notch competition, winning against top-notch competition, yes. Now, I love your argument about Adonis Stevenson, because nobody gives him any credibility at all because he doesn't fight. But to your point, he is the lineal champion. And he just defended against, he's going to fight one time this year. He fought one time last year. Yeah, he's fought once a year. In 2015, he fought twice. In 2016, he fought once. And in 2017, he's going to fight once. I think that's where the disconnect comes in with Adonis. In fact, if I can finish here, Ring Magazine talked about stripping him of his lineal title because of his competition and because of his inactivity. And if somebody can check on that for me, maybe I'll check on it. I think Ring may have stripped him of that title. I don't know that for a fact.
No, not yet. Not yet. I just checked it.
I know. Okay.
No, they have not yet.
They were. I know they were talking about it.
Okay, so wait. Hold on a second. Now, wait. Now, two things. Now, one, we talked about, you guys talked about, okay, in order to be considered the number one guy, you have to be active and win fights. Now,
against good competition.
Last I checked.
Top competition.
Okay, win fights against good competition. Okay, last I checked, last I checked, Mr. Kovalev, prior to last night, lost his previous 2 fights. And
he did.
That second loss came by knockout.
Second loss did come by knockout.
And so then last night he beats a guy. So last night he beats a guy who comes from nowhere and was sent back to nowhere in 2 rounds. So,
Shabransky's a good fighter. I mean, you can't say Shabransky's not a good fighter.
My question is, what has? All right. So Kovalev lost 2 fights. One by night. He lost 2 fights back to back to Andre Ward. He fights to nobody last night. And you're trying to convince me that that's enough to be considered as the best light heavyweight in the world?
No.
I mean, what kind of crack are you guys smoking?
But
come on now.
Shabransky's a good fighter.
Right?
That's not fair.
Listen,
that's not a fair point.
You get knocked out.
That's not a fair point because Shabransky's not a nobody. He's a good fighter. Shabransky's a very good fighter. In fact, so good a fighter. Yes,
well,
so good a fighter.
Well, who is he beating?
Let me finish.
What has he done at 175?
What has he done? Let me finish. So good of a fighter. They thought, and Beeb and I both thought, that before that fight, that wasn't an even fight. We thought Kovalev would win. We thought Kovalev would come back and win, but it wasn't as just a given fight. It wasn't a gimme fight before that bell rang. Now that the bell rang and the fight has taken place, it was obviously a mismatch. It looked like a mismatch to me. Could have been a case of Shabranskyy being clipped.
Okay, so Shabranskyy, a guy who, what has he done at light heavyweight? I mean, who has he beat? Who is he? What has he done? I mean, I don't understand. So are you trying to tell me that all right, let's remove Kovalev from the equation.
Sure.
Okay? And let's put Joe Blow. Let's say Joe Smith, for instance, okay, who is not a top light heavyweight, okay? Who is not a top light heavyweight. Joe Smith is shit. But are you trying to tell me if, let's just say it was not Kovalev last night that knocked out Shabranskyy in 2 rounds. Let's say it was Joe Smith that had knocked out Shabranskyy in 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. Are you telling me that now, after Joe Smith has knocked out Shabranskyy in 2 rounds, that I should consider Joe Smith as the #1 light heavyweight in the world? Is that your argument?
No.
Is that the shit that you're selling?
No, because he lost to Sullivan Barrera in his last fight. No, he lost to Sullivan Barrera in his last fight, so absolutely not.
No.
Okay. So then if that's the case, then why should I think that a guy who lost his last 2 fights, the second of which by knockout, saying that Kovalev got knocked out is giving him too much credit. The guy quit, okay? He quit because he didn't want it.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
A guy who lost his last 2 fights, the second of which he quit, comes back and knocks out Shabranskyy, is now all of a sudden the #1 light heavyweight in the world. Is that what you want me to believe?
Would you like me? Okay, well, let me turn the tables here.
Let's be real here, okay?
Let me turn the tables on you real quick here. So would you like me to believe that a guy that fights once a year against fringe competition should be the light heavyweight #1, regardless of who he beat in the past?
Excuse me, but at the end of the day, and let me tell you why. 2 reasons. Number 1, he beat the man who beat the man. First reason. Second reason, he hasn't been beaten since he beat the man. In order to beat a man, you have to beat the man. Adonis Stevenson beat the man and has remained undefeated since.
Undefended.
So, yes, as much as you don't like it, listen, I never said it was a perfect system, okay? That's not what I'm saying right now. Do I like the guys that Adonis Stevenson has been knocking out lately? No, I don't. Yes, I think he can fight better opposition. I certainly do. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that he beat the man, which makes him the man. In order for him to not be the man anymore, somebody has to beat him, or he has to retire, or he has to move up.
So let me ask you a question.
I don't like the situation.
Let me ask you a question. Let me tell you why you have a good debate. You do. And here's where it falls apart though, with the lineal champion. Do you think Rocky Marciano is the greatest heavyweight ever?
No.
Why?
No, I don't.
He was the last lineal champion. He was undefeated. Listen to me. He was undefeated.
Rocky Marciano's resume is shit.
Nobody beat him, but he was the lineal champion. Nobody beat him. He beat the man.
But that wasn't your question. Your question was he the greatest heavyweight ever?
Is he the greatest heavyweight ever? He has to be, according to you.
Rocky Marciano was a lineal champion. Yes, he was. Now, I'm not going to deny the man that. He was lineal champion. Of course. Yes.
Sure.
Okay?
But he didn't fight anybody.
But
you just said so.
If the question,
that's the point with Adonis Stevenson. He's not fighting anyone.
Listen,
he's not fighting anyone.
Look, he beat a bunch of old men. Okay, he beat old Joe Louis. He beat. Look, at the end of the day, look, he beat Jersey Joe Walcott. Jersey Joe Walcott was the man. Jersey Joe Walcott was the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. He got knocked out in the 13th round by Rocky Marciano. In order to beat a man, you have to beat the man. Rocky Marciano beat the man. So he was the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. This is a fact. I'm not arguing against that, okay? That's just what happened. Now, was Rocky Marciano the greatest heavyweight ever? Hell to the no. Because at the end of the day, Rocky Marciano's resume is shit, okay? It's shit. He beat a bunch of old fucking men.
Couldn't we say the same about Stevenson?
And a bunch of old fucking men. He beat one who just happened to be the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. But does that make his resume great or outstanding? No. The same logic situation can be applied to Adonis Stevenson, okay? Did Adonis Stevenson beat a great light heavyweight? No, he did not. When he beat the lineal champion, the former lineal champion, Chad Dawson. Was Chad Dawson some type of great win? No, he wasn't. He got knocked out in this previous fight, okay? But at the end of the day, Adonis Stevenson beat the lineal light heavyweight champion of the world. And unfortunately, Arthur Beterbiev can't say that, nor can Sergey Kovalev. They can't say that.
But what do we do when he holds a title hostage and he won't fight anyone?
I think the misconception is this. Fight Doctor is 100% unequivocally correct in theory. But I think we're hanging on words a little bit here, because the question that was asked is who's the man, meaning when you say who's the man, who do I think is the best fighter in the division right now?
Right.
So I think we can argue that Canelo was the man at middleweight, but Golovkin was the best middleweight in that division. So yeah, you're right. But if you ask me just a random question like who do I think the man is, when the term man to me means who do I think is the best and who I think it would be can beat the rest right now, I would have to favor Kovalev over everyone right now.
Right.
And that's just my opinion. But does that mean that I think he's the lineal champ? No, I can't take that away from Stevenson. So I think there's just kind of a little bit of confusion on how you want to define the man.
Right.
To clarify, if you want to say the man is the lineal champion, then no, he's not the man. But I personally think, style-wise, and if I was to match him up against other light heavyweights in this division right now, I'm not saying he could destroy everybody, but I would favor him over everyone else right now, in my opinion. And that's just an opinion. That's just my opinion, and it's my answer is just doesn't really mean anything. It's just how I believe. Doesn't mean it's universal and should be perceived as being universal.
Look, I completely understand Fight Doctor's argument here.
I thought it was a great argument. I thought it was a great point.
It makes a lot of sense. That's why he's such a great caller. But it's hard for the three of us to defend Stevenson, because since he beat Chad Dawson, he's really fought nobody. And in my opinion, if you hold the lineal championship in any division, you need to act like the true champion and up your competition, and don't allow boxing politics to get in the way. I mean, they tried to work out a deal with Kovalev, and that whole negotiation got totally screwed up. I mean, if he would have went ahead and fought that fight, I would have totally looked at Adonis Stevenson completely different than what I do today. I mean, in my opinion, if you hold the so-called lineal title, you've got to be a real champion. And frankly, Adonis Stevenson has not been a real champion because he's picked and choose his opponents.
And quite honestly, there was a time when I thought Adonis Stevenson would beat Kovalev, and he still could quite possibly do that. Eric as well. I think Adonis Stevenson doesn't get enough credit just because he hasn't fought in any big names recently. He's fought some decent guys, but he hasn't really fought any big names. It doesn't mean we should totally dismiss him as a threat. And I think people are really dismissing Adonis Stevenson as a threat. Like I said, like 2 years ago, I was pretty confident that he could beat Kovalev. But I don't see how he could have gotten better in those 2 years. And maybe Kovalev there, and you could argue that he got worse, but he still fought better guys than Stevenson recently. I mean, he did fight Andre Ward twice. First fight was a close fight. I had Andre Ward winning, but he made a good account of himself. You know, we can't erase that first fight just because he got knocked out in the second fight. But again, you're only as good as your last fight, and the last big name opponent that he fought, he got knocked out in. So you know that's taken into account too. But it's a tough question, subjective question. You know, when you ask someone, who do you think is the best fighter in the division? That's why, you know, lineal championships, they exist. They're held in high regard, a little bit of credibility, because you have situations like the Canelo situation, the Miguel Cotto situation, champions,
right?
And they were avoiding fighters who, when you look at the fighters they were avoiding, you said to yourself, maybe this guy could beat them. So same thing with Mike Tyson. When he did fight Michael Spinks, who was the lineal champion did to the lineal champion. The lineal champion earns that right of being the lineal champion, but that does not cement being the best fighter in the division, because that will always be open to opinion and that will always be subjective.
Okay, but see, here's the problem. See, we cheapen. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, are we fans of the sport of boxing, or are we fans of popular opinion? Or are we fans of the bullshit that HBO wants to sell us? Okay? Because I would argue that being a fan of the sport of boxing and being a fan of the bullshit that HBO wants to sell us those two things are mutually exclusive, okay? Because, again, we have 100 years of boxing tradition that says one thing, then we have HBO that says something else, okay? We have the sanctioning organizations that say something else. So, listen, at the end of the day, HBO, HBO is in the business of boxing for the business part, not for the boxing part, okay? So let's get it straight. The sanctioning organizations, they're in the business of boxing for the business part. The boxing part is coincidental, okay? All right? That's what it is. Because if the WBC really cared about boxing, they wouldn't strip champions. They wouldn't. If they really cared about what's good for the sport, they wouldn't. WBA, listen, the WBA is the biggest joke in boxing. If they really cared about the boxing, they wouldn't have 3 champions in every division, okay? Because what does that do? When you have multiple champions in each division, you create confusion. Because now the casual public, they don't know who's who. Okay? So ask yourself this question. If you go and you give a guy credit for holding a title for one of these organizations, as opposed to giving a guy credit for beating the true champion, then what is really your agenda here? Okay? What are you really trying to do? Are you trying to improve the sport of boxing? Or is your head up your ass and are you in one big circle jerk with the sanctioned organizations? I mean, really, what's going on here? Because if we keep giving credit to these guys for holding these alphabet organization titles, which mean nothing, then what we're doing in reality is we are hurting the sport of boxing. Now, look, I understand that the alphabet organizations serve a purpose, and it's not always bad, because when the guys who are on their way up, when they get one of these titles, yeah, that means exposure. But at the end of the day, I don't think that we should belittle the guys who are the lineal champion at the expense, or we shouldn't belittle guys who are the lineal champion and lift up the guys who hold these alphabet organizations, okay? Because at the end of the day, the alphabet organizations, their titles mean nothing. They mean nothing. It's about business, not about boxing. And when we sit here and talk about, oh, well, this guy is a champion because he unified 2 organizations or 3 organizations titles. That doesn't mean anything. Okay? When these rankings are bought and sold.
Thank you for using Blog
at
Talk
auction.
Radio. Goodbye.
Oh, we ended. That's it. We ended. All right. We are out. Beeb, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I think we're still on the YouTube, but
yeah, we're still on the YouTube.
We apologize to you, Fight Doctor.
Yeah, it just cut out.
The blog talk doesn't let us go past the
3 hour mark.
Past 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I guess the 3 hour mark. I don't know. Yeah, we've been on for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Hour mark. Yeah, we're kind of capped out.
Who would have thought when I looked at the schedule for this show, it would have been 3 hours? How crazy is that?
Good callers today, but we apologize to you, Fight Doctor. We did not hang up on you.
No, right.
The system allows us to be on the blog talk system, which has the switchboard to keep you on till we can only be on for 3 hours. So
right,
yeah, right. It is what it is. I'm sorry about that. So just so you guys know, we didn't hang up on Fight Doctor.
Do apologize for that. And he made some really good points. He made some good points with Adonis Stevenson, and I see where he's coming from. The problem is, like I said, with Adonis Stevenson, he's fought, once every year for the past 2 years. He just fought one time a year. And if you're not going to keep active and you're not going to give anybody shots at the belt, how can they, it's hard to rank him as the top dog in that division, even if he is the lineal champion. It's kind of like ranking Miguel Cotto #1 at 160 when he wouldn't fight Triple G. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of where we go. But
my whole thing is this, I can't tell people they have to adopt my principles and my whole thought process in terms of who I think is the best. But more often than not, people, title or no title, people know who the best fighter in the division is. When Floyd Mayweather came back, people had a sense for until someone demolishes this guy, he's still the best welterweight in the world,
right?
Regardless if he had a title or not. Like, people know who the best fighter in the division is. Like, so people knew. People thought that at the time Golovkin was the best fighter in the division, and I think he proved that. After, I thought he beat Canelo. A lot of people agree. I think about 80% of the people agree with me, which again doesn't always matter to the 20%, because I've been in the minority, you've been in the minority. For the most part, I think most people can agree on who the best fighter in the division is, or at least who the top 2 best fighters in the division are.
Sure.
So belts don't always mean things, and lineal titles don't always mean things, but that does not mean that lineal champions should not be respected for what they've accomplished, and that does not mean that we should diminish the lineal champion. But what it does mean is it's still not a lock on the division the best.
Incidentally, Adonis Stevenson is 29-1 with 24 knockouts. Who's his lone loss to?
I'm trying to remember that. I think it's Darnell Boone, isn't it?
Darnell Boone, exactly. We were talking about him earlier.
Yeah.
One of the best fighters. Yeah. Really just solid fighter, man. Everybody had trouble.
He's a solid guy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a solid guy.
Unbelievable. The best guy that absolutely nobody's heard of, He never really,
yeah.
But he fought everybody. He fought the who's who.
Yeah. Darnell Boone knocked him out too.
Yeah, second round.
So think about it. Adonis Stevenson was put in pretty much the same situation Andre Ward was put in, and what happened? He got knocked out, whereas Andre Ward went on to win the fight.
Yeah,
that says something. And then people bring up, I guess Darnell Boone, I believe, gave Kovalev a tough fight. I think they had a draw, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there was a flash knockdown, but Kovalev really wasn't hurt in that fight. I'm gonna have to go back and double check that. It was a while ago. Draw with Darnell Boone, and he rematched him and he ended up knocking him out. But I think there was a flash knockdown in that fight too. But it wasn't like Kovalev. Kovalev went down against Blake Caparello too, and that was a balance shot. Like, it's not the same. You get a flash knockdown. You get knocked down because you're off balance, because you squared up. That's not the same thing as being hurt. Adonis Stevenson was hurt in pretty much the same way that Andre Ward was. You could even argue that Andre Ward was hurt more by Darnell Boone in his fight, and he came back and he won the fight, whereas Stevenson got knocked out. So once again, I know I turned this into the Andre Ward show, but I got a lot of a lot of evidence to support what I'm saying.
Yeah, he won a split decision against Darnell Boone and then came back and knocked him out in the second round.
Okay, yeah. So it wasn't a draw. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
I believe he was knocked down in that split decision fight too, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Let me see if it says here. Just real quick here.
It may say.
Does not say. Does not say.
Okay.
So
I'll find that out. I think he was.
You're probably right. All right. I think we're done here, man. I think that's it.
A long one, huh?
Yeah, right. I mean, like I said, man, who would have thought that this show would have went this long? Light heavyweights, popular topic today. Popular topic. Dump it all over Ringside Robbie. That was popular tonight too. Guys, giving Robbie a hard way to go, man. That'll do it, though, for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert or call Ringside Robbie's Corner at 917-259-1810. Leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1. Find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and we will see you next week.
All right.